Good afternoon, everyone. It's Billy with HVAC Master the Hustle. Welcome to the Leveling Up webinar. Just want to tell you all, thank you so much for coming out and joining on your Friday afternoon, as I know there's hundreds of you guys on this webinar. But just want to let you guys know for this webinar, our goal for you guys is to succeed in 2024. And these speakers have taken their time to come and give you guys some knowledge, some extra arsenals for your toolbox and everything. So you guys, I just have some news for you and this itinerary. It's going to be great. So I'm just going to go through the itinerary real quick. So have your pens and papers out. And, we do have that Q&A at the end. So make sure you guys are writing down that questions because we have all those speakers that are going to be ready to answer them. But let's go through this itinerary. Starting off, we're going to start off with Joe Cunningham. He's going to be going over maximizing revenue and opportunities on every call with call-by-call management. And then right after that, we have Dan Antonelli. He's going to let's talk about branding and its effects on sales and average tickets, close rates, and booking ratios. And right after that, we got Drew Cameron. He's going to go over the 3 high probability ways to increase your sales regardless of the economy or competition. And then right after that, we got Joe Crisara. He's going to say, what should we do? Bringing every opportunity to a conclusion. And then after that, we got Weldon Long, consistency selling. Consistent sales results come from consistent sales activities. Learn how having a sales process can drive reliable and powerful sales results regardless of the season. And then right after that, we're ending it with Jason Walker, Jdub Moneymaker. He's going to be going over the customer experience. People remember how you made them feel, not what you said. So let's all remember that. And guess what? Of course, right after that, we're ending it with the Q&A. So all the speakers are there. Have your pen and papers because we're about to get started. So let's get started with Joe Cunningham.
Hello, everybody. I'm Joe Cunningham, and I'd like to thank you for having me on this program today. It's kind of an honor to be here, and I've got some great guys that I've been working with today. And what I'd like to talk to you about is call-by-call management. It's been a big buzzword around lately, and a lot of people are wondering what it is. So I wanted to go over this, tell you what it is and how it works, because it is without a doubt the quickest, most proven path to increase your profits and higher productivity by using just your existing techs and the marketing program that you've got. I've never had anything like this happen before, but I want to fill you in on how it works. Now, there's a difference in today's service business. And if you don't change with the time, you're going to be left behind. The past several years with COVID have brought some amazing changes to the home services industry. Customers are buying different. The labor force that we employ to serve our customers has changed, and many of you are having to build your own teams because, quite frankly, these techs are hard to find. And if you're going to succeed and grow, you're going to have to learn to handle these changes, and you're going to have to maximize your company's opportunity while providing superior service if you're really going to win. Now, in my 30 plus years of being in this industry, I've experienced and created a lot of different things. I've built a lot of different programs to help address these issues that affect our business. And the initial programs that we built to start handling the shortage of tech industry, the guys not selling quite enough, the guys not generating enough, started about 30 years or so ago. And we've enhanced those processes, and we've perfected the way that we work them. And now they've been fully field tested for a long time, and they're ready to go. And the results of our latest program is absolutely incredible. Massive profits are being earned. Customers are happier. They're buying a lot of stuff. Your employees are happier, earning more money. And the customers out there are really happy when they're spending more money. And that's a hard thing to achieve sometimes. And I call this amazing set of processes and procedures that we've got to go with now, the call-by-call management process. Now, some people say it should be a coaching process, but it's really not. The thing that we've built a set of processes and procedures. You got to manage those. You have to coach the people who work them, but you manage processes and procedures. And this is a series of processes and techniques that will allow the call to be more closely monitored and controlled than in the past. And when you do this, it increases the productivity and profitability, and also lets you assist technicians in the field regardless of their communication or technician skills to succeed. And here's why it works. Due to the characteristics of a lot. Now, not all, because there are some techs out there that are absolute rock stars. But when we take a look at most techs out there, sales isn't something that they just love to do because it's not an inherent skill. I've never had a tech come in for an interview and say, "Hey, Joe, you know what I want to do? More than anything else, I'd like to become, a public speaker and a creative writer." But that's what we try and turn them into. And because we try and do that, sometimes that's against the grain that they like to operate with. They just don't excel in customer service skills. But you know what? That's all right. My process, the call by call process, allows techs to do what they love to do, which is look for problems and fix stuff, and then hand off what they don't like to do as much to somebody that does like to do it, like the communication skills. And call by call follows the same exact process that they use when they're creating a great football team or baseball team or basketball team. It helps you create a virtual Super Bowl of champions to work for your company. This process makes sure that every one of your team that deals with their customers is extremely proficient in just what they do. And it allows them to maximize their strongest skill set, which in one hand, it's kind of a specialized function. Your techs like to look for technical problems and they like to fix technical problems. But after they get done playing that technician role and they find the problems, then they get to hand off the part that they really don't love as much, like the communication part, to somebody that just lives for it. And they hand that off to the strongest member of your team to close that job for them. And then they move back into the process and they fix the stuff. Now, this process, when you use it, it allows your company to leverage your greatest strengths on every call. You're going to be able to quickly combine and maximize your existing team resources. And see, that's a great part of it. You don't need to go find a lot more team members. You can do this with the guys you got. And it helps them play the correct role while they're out there running calls. And when they do that, you're going to get superior customer service. You're going to get enhanced or better repair and replacement options, which is one of the things that we're really looking for. And to tell you the truth, with the guys that are doing this, I'm seeing companies out there take their average ticket and increasing them 3, 4, 500% in one day. And that's the best part. You don't need a new software program. You don't need a new marketing program. We don't have to run a new recruiting program. We just have to put this in place with the guys that we've got. And the turnover rate improvement for replacements absolutely goes through the roof when I get the right guy playing the right part at the right time with the right customers. It's absolutely incredible what's happening. And using my simple process does this for you on every call. I mean, it's not just something that works once in a while. It's not just something that works with one of the guys. This is something that works on every single call you run. The call-by-call management process has proven to be the quickest and most effective way to grow in today's home service industries, and it's used by the most prolific companies out there in the home services today. You've got guys out there like Gettle using Perfect Service Call. Tommy Mello with the garage door companies uses a version of the Perfect Service Call. Most of my friends that have the biggest and strongest companies all use a version of the Perfect Service Call because it helps them get the most out of every call, every day, every tech, every instance. And not only that, it makes their customers 10 times happier than they've ever been before. It is absolutely amazing. Now, another great benefit of the call-by-call process is how it helps to quickly grow a better technician team, because the process itself will allow a company to serve more customers while utilizing extremely greened or less skilled techs than in the past. And that's a big plus. Now, the reason that happens with the green guys is because we're going to more closely manage them on every call and help them and guide them and teach them what to do. We don't leave anything to chance. Everything gets monitored. Everything gets done correctly. And when you develop and use an in-house coach to help your green techs to provide those personal assistance for them, they grow quicker and better than they ever have before. And not only that, using the process eliminates the possibility of what so many techs do, miss opportunities. Now, missed opportunities cause things like single task calls to be run. And when I go work with a lot of companies and I go in, one of the first things that I ask them to do is show me their service tickets. And I'll ask them to pull 75 or 100 out. And most of the time, I'm absolutely amazed and stunned by the number of single task call tickets they run, when in fact, there's no reason for doing it. If I was to ask most of you out there, what is the age of the average house that you go see? Well, the age of the average house you go see is going to be 25 or 30 years. And you're expecting me to believe you can send a tech to a house and look at a 25 or 30-year-old house and only find one damn thing wrong, and then you buy that bullshit? It's not how it works. I can't go into a house as a technician and really look and only find one thing wrong. And all of you know that's the truth. We can go into a new construction job where they just installed it, the system's never been fired, and we're going to find more than one thing. But it happens in service companies. And you know what? Call-by-call management fixes it. It takes that tech, whether they're experienced or green, and to tell you the truth, the experienced guys are really the worst at this because they create their own shortcut and they tell themselves what they don't really need to do. But they're missing opportunities. And every day, these guys spend as much energy and overhead dollars kicking the most profitable part of the call out of the way every time, and cause you to lose money on it. And then you have to really hustle to make this up, because every call that we run where we miss those opportunities, we're going to have to run 10 more calls that are better just to make up the overhead that we just expended. It's absolutely ridiculous. You don't want them to miss the opportunities. And another thing you don't want them to miss are the buying signs that the customers will give you that they don't understand, but you can help them learn. So the call-by-call process is easy. And here's the steps of how it works. Now, nothing's going to change during the way that you book your call. You're going to book your call the same way. Same CSR is going to answer that phone. They're going to give the same instructions. Your customer's going to hear the same thing from them. Nothing will change. You'll book your calls always as usual. Hopefully, some of you are finding the benefit of not running 5 or 6 calls a day with your techs. And that is one sure way to lose a lot of money, by making your techs run too many calls, because when they run too many calls, they can't find the opportunities there. But the call is always going to be booked. Now, after the call is booked, the customer will be contacted by a new position in your company, really the only one you have to create, and it's called a senior service manager. Now, that person probably already exists in your company. He could be a service manager that you've got now. He could be a high-producing selling tech that would like to be doing something different. He could be one of your retail salesmen that communicate with your customers real well. But it's a senior service manager's job to set the call up for success, and also to stay in communication with the customer to make sure that they are super happy on every single part of this call. So before your tech heads out, there's no more CSR calling them. There's no more technician calling them on the phone. Our senior service advisor does that. Now, what happens when your senior service advisor calls and says, "Hello, Ms. Johnson, this is Joe. I'm the senior service advisor over at Comfort Air. I'm going to be your personal contact for today's call." Nobody has ever told their customer from an air conditioning or plumbing company that they're going to be their personal point of contact. And the customers are absolutely amazed somebody said that to them. In fact, the companies that I put this in place with, that's one of the first things they recognize. These customers that they're talking to are kind of shocked we use that word, personal point of contact, because they've never experienced that level of personal touch. Well, this is a personal, I'm going to be your personal point of contact. And someone from our office did explain today that your call is going to take 60 to 90 minutes, didn't they? Now, here's the thing. How many times are we rolling a truck to a house and the customer has to go somewhere before it's all over. We want to eliminate that. We can't have a rushed call. And so now, since we gave the management of this call to a senior level person, this customer will tell them if they have time or not. And if they don't have time, we reschedule a call instead of rolling it for nothing, but the customer knows what's going on. The senior service advisor helps open the door for the tech because he tells the customer, this is what he's going to do. He's going to perform your tune-up, or he's going to perform your repair, or whatever it is. But when he's done, he's going to look at everything. That way you won't have any unexpected problems with your equipment after he leaves. Is that all right? And when he finishes that, he's going to give you a complete list of everything that needs to be done. And if there's anything that we need to be aware of, he'll fill you in on that as well. Is that okay? The customers always agree to it. Now the door is wide open for the tech, who sometimes had trouble communicating with that with the customer. And my tech's going to arrive to open arms. When he arrives there and his customer's really happy about what he's going to do, the customer's more than willing to let him look all over the house. And he does his normal, how are you doing, presentation of who he is and what he's going to do. He goes around, he looks at the thermostat. He does whatever he normally does. But what changes in the diagnostic is we train your techs to look at a checklist when he's in the house that will have him check every component of a heating and cooling or electrical or plumbing system, so nothing at all is ever left out. And one of the biggest problems you have when the techs are there is they skip something. And when they skip something and miss it, we lose that opportunity. But the reality of the matter, if I have a technician that can do a really good diagnostic job, if I've shown him exactly how to take this system apart, exactly what to sit there to show the customer so a presentation can be made, and exactly how to check everything, he will leave nothing to chance. And this checklist that we've got now is on paper, but it's coming out soon on an app. And that way there'll be nothing left to a chance, because as he goes through this app, he won't be able to go to the next step without filling out the prior step. And it's going to enhance their ability to perform more than it ever has before. Now, I know some of you have seen our checklist, some of you haven't. I'll hold it up to the camera real quick. But when you use a checklist like this, there is nothing left out. That way he can show the customer exactly what's going on all the time. Now, the info found by the tech and the pictures that he takes, because it's even more important than ever to take pictures, because the person that's going to be delivering this presentation now has to be appraised of everything that's going on in this job. So this technician is going to look for everything. He's going to find everything. He's going to take every possible picture he can take. This is going to give your senior service advisor the ammunition that he needs to make the most powerful presentation that could ever be made when it comes to repair and when it comes time to turn that lead over for a replacement. So now the senior service advisor gets that information from the tech. My tech goes out to the truck. My senior service advisor picks up the phone and he calls the customer. And when he calls the customer, he simply says, Mr. Johnson, this is Joe. Like I told you, I'm the senior service advisor over at the air conditioning company. And the reason I called is this. Our technician was at your house and he found some issues he was really concerned about. And then he sent me some pictures. And quite frankly, when I saw those pictures, I was concerned as well. Would you mind if I shared that with you? The customer says yes 100% of the time. And then the senior service advisor uses his superior communication skills to provide options, present the options to the customer, convince him that these are the right solutions for him, and close the sale. And since my tech is there, then the tech is able to pick that up and go back out and perform those tasks. So we've got a combination that's never been used before. My technician performing at his strongest set of skills, he's passing the ball to the person that's got the strongest set of communication skills. After the strongest set of communication skills are used, my strongest communicator is passing that information back to my technician, who's going to take that ball. He's going to repair those problems in the house. He's going to ask for the review because he's the best one to do it. And he just made this customer happier than they've ever been before. He'll collect that review. And then after he collects the review, he's going to collect the money and wrap the call up for you. It works like things you've never seen before. And it works in any size company. I don't care if you've got one tech or 101 techs. It just flat works. And if you want to start it, you can start it off with just 4 or 5 techs, because one senior service advisor can handle that many. And right now we've got it working in the electrical business. We've got it working in the air conditioning business. We've got it working in the plumbing business. We've got it working in the sewer business. And wherever we put it in place, that business has taken off. Tickets go up the same day. Callbacks go down the same day. We create more leads the same day. I don't have to wait for my lead program to start working. I don't have to wait for anything. I just have to get this done. Now, the good part about it, call-by-call management is going to revolutionize your business. It's going to make it better than it has ever been before. And to help you put this in place, we're actually going on the road and giving the full-blown call-by-call management program. We're going to have it in 2 parts. We're going to be teaching the managers one day, and then we're going to teach the techs. In the tech class, we're going to teach them how to take that stuff apart and do a more dynamic inspection than they've ever done before. It's going to be the most amazing program that's ever been given out. The first program is going to be in Anaheim. We're going to do that on, I think, the 21st. I don't really remember, but if you will just email me, I can send you all the information, or just email Jason. He'll have all of it too. My email address is joe9152@verizon.net. I'm so glad I could join you folks today. Jason asked me to make this 4-hour presentation in 25 minutes, and you know what? I think I got it done. I'd like to thank all of you for joining in. I'm looking to hearing from everybody else. Dan Antonelli, my friend Drew Cameron, Joe Crisara is coming up. He's great. My buddy Weldon Long, and then they're going to wrap it up with Jason. It's going to be an incredible experience. Don't tune out. Stay tuned in. You're going to learn more than you've ever learned in your life in the shortest period of time possible. So thanks, folks. I appreciate you being here, and I'll talk to you later.
Wow. Thank you so much, Joe Cunningham. Who's using call-by-call management nowadays? Are you wanting to run more calls or just use call-by-call management? Well, reach out to Joe or anybody, or I could reach out to him if you need me at billy@hvacmasterthehustle.com. But let's get on to the next speaker, Dan Antonelli. He's going to go over, let's talk about branding and its effect on sales and average tickets, close rates, and booking ratios. All right, get those pads ready.
Howdy. How are you guys doing today? So thank you so much for having me on today. It's really funny. My presentation actually wasn't supposed to be calling Let's Talk About Branding and its effect on sales and average tickets, close ratio, and booking ratios, which is a mouthful. I said to Jason, hey, let's talk about branding and its effect on sales and average tickets, close ratio. And they made that the title of my actual presentation. So that being said, I'm going to run through this as quickly as I can. There's a lot of content I'm going to just try to give to you guys. We're going to just talk about, obviously we will talk about average tickets, closing rates, and things like that, and how the brand affects those different things. But let me share my screen and walk through this presentation, and we will go from there. So just give me 1 second. All right. So again, my name is Dan Antonelli. I am the creative director of KickCharge. We have, I think at this point, we have 35 employees, 29 years, about 2,000 home service companies we've done the brands for. I've written a few books. This is one of the books that I have written that was published last year. It's called Branded Not Blanded. If you're a home service company, it's a really good read. It has a lot of the things that we're going to talk about here covered. And the great thing about what we do is we get to change lives by building better brands for so many home service companies. So super grateful and blessed to work in the trades and to be able to work with so many amazing owners on building a better brand for them and their companies. So, kind of looking at this real quick and then looking away and then looking at this and then looking away and looking at it and coming back. This is exactly what is happening out in the streets today. The homeowners that you are trying to reach are being bombarded with messages. But when you look at this, one of these is unlike the others. Okay. One of these looks a little bit different. So even looking at this is what is actually happening. So you could see the difference of the Ahoy brand in comparison to all these other ones that are here, right? So these ones all look very similar in nature. And then you have something that looks very different. And that's exactly what you're trying to do with building a better brand, is to be different than what you're seeing out on the street, to be more disruptive and to try to win the battle of their minds. And that's what we talk about a lot, is how do we win the battle of their minds? How do we become sticky to the people that you are trying to sell? Okay. Weak branding inspires no one, but you know who loves a weak brand? Google. Google loves weak brands. Okay. They absolutely love them. They make a ton of money off of weak brands, whether it's PPC, LSA, all those different methods that you are paying to get your name in front of people. Wouldn't it be nice if people knew your name when they needed service instead, so you weren't paying for all those leads instead? So 84% of the people that you are trying to sell to have no idea who you are. Okay. And what does that mean? That means that, again, you're going to be paying to deliver the results so people can learn more about who your company is. Wouldn't it be nicer if they already knew your name instead of AC repair near me? Okay. The other really important thing is making sure that you are designing brands that appeal to women. Okay. They are the target audience that you are trying to attract with your brand. So make sure you're building brands that appeal to women. Okay. One of the most common errors, you see brands that are very masculine in nature. They don't appeal to the people that actually are making the purchasing decisions. Okay. Just looking at this real quick, you could kind of see this is a company that had 6 times the inbound traffic immediately after rebranding. You could see what happened over here and how much the traffic to this particular website spiked. Rocks Roofing, instead of going with the very stereotypical roofing logo that you see with just the rooftops, we went in obviously a much different direction, a more disruptive direction. Another company here, Perfect Temp Air Conditioning and Pool Heating, you can see again right here, look at this spike here. Look at how much traffic came to the site after rebranding for free. Okay. These are branded keyword searches. Okay. Jason Bueller in Jacksonville, 1,500 branded keyword searches in July of 2023. That's people typing in his name instead of paying Google to deliver that particular search result. Okay. Just comparison. We had a company, Rival Digital, that has designed a lot of websites for companies. He happens to have also designed about 25 websites for companies that use a kick charge brand. Look at the difference in branded keyword searches for these companies. Okay, these are all companies that had a kick charge brand versus these companies, which we would basically characterize them as being blanded, right? They did not disrupt, they blended in, and therefore they had so far fewer inbound branded keyword searches. And then even just looking at the conversion rates of those two different groups of people, and it was 25 kick charge, 25 non-kick charge. So 12% monthly conversions on a kick charge branded website versus 6% on a non-kick charge branded website. Again, so you want to extrapolate that between the two things. You're talking about basically getting essentially 50 more leads per month for free. Okay. So the idea too of this notion becoming 5 mile famous, that's ultimately the goal of what we're trying to do with this brand, right? Is have people know who you are within the community that you serve. Okay. So just give me an example of a roofing company that we rebranded. I should have a picture of their old brand because it wasn't very good, but Munge Roofing, you can see how this is a very disruptive color scheme. It's not the stereotypical, again, roof symbols for a roofing company. Site signs just basically showing you how they're integrating within the community. Okay. So as I'm driving, I see my neighbor's got this site sign. I see my neighbors getting work by them. My neighbor is a source of trust for me. So if I see my neighbors using you, then I establish trust. Okay. So this is the van wrap for them. And then look at what's happened after the rebrand. So here's where the rebrand basically happened. And then look at the essentially look at the direct traffic searches. So this isn't even just this isn't even just branded keyword searches. This is direct traffic searches. This is people typing in Munge Roofing now, as opposed to what was happening here. Nothing was happening here because they blended in. No one knew who they were. Okay. And then look at the revenue increases since the rebrand and what's happened since there. Okay. The beauty of actually this chart too is that the ad spend is the same. Okay. It's not like, oh my God, we're going to bang a ton of more money into our advertising and that's why the revenue increases. No, actually the ad spend was exactly the same. Okay. So name the company. Again, naming so critical. It's one of the biggest chapters in my book. Name the company so it's sticky. The worst names for home services, initial based brands, okay, like TF Plumbing, and last name brands. They are the most difficult to get sticky. They're the most difficult to have people assign a brand promise to. Again, a brand is what people say about you behind your back. If your neighbor was talking about your company, what would they say to your company, to their neighbor about the experience of working with you? And again, every time they interact with your brand, whether it's online, whether it's the uniform the guy's wearing, the business card he hands out, the social media reviews, those are all impressions that are being formed about your company. If you don't take control of those impressions, well, they're going to basically try to take control of those impressions. Okay, so the idea is, how do we become sticky to them? How do we control what they feel about what your company can provide to them? Okay, there's a really cool song, if you're old, by Suicidal Tendency. It says, they're effing with me subliminally. Okay, ultimately, at the end of the day, that's exactly what we're trying to do by building a better brand. I'm trying to get them to think something positive about the experience of working with you. They've never hired you. They've only seen your trucks. They've only seen some site signs. Maybe they've seen an ad on Facebook. They don't know who you are yet. How do I control what they think about what that experience would be? That's the most critical part of it. Okay. Now, how does that affect average tickets? Well, if I don't believe that there's a reason why I should pay your company more, then why would I continue, or why would I believe that the price that you're charging is reasonable? I don't assign a value to it. Therefore, it's so much harder for you to charge more for your work because the consumer doesn't believe there's an actual reason that they should pay more for your services. Okay, so really consider, what does your brand communicate to them? Do I look premium? Do I look like a company that's going to be around next year? Do I look like a company that will honor the warranty if something goes wrong next year? Those are all the questions that they're trying to basically work out in their mind. And when you hand them that estimate, that's all the things that are factoring into the decision-making process as to why we should pay more for the service. Okay, so control the conversation, make them believe that there's a premium service. A lot of guys, this is the thing, is a lot of guys, they walk in the front door and they provide a great service. They're actually really good at their job. The problem is that they don't look like they provide a good service. If I judge them by their trucks, if I judge them by their website, if I judge them by how they basically portray their own brand, I can't get there. After they're finished, maybe I'm like, oh yeah, these guys were awesome. They were great. Like, I love them. But I'm trying to control what happens before then. Okay. So just looking at, again, just a startup here for Apex Plumbing. They invested in the brand literally from day one. These are some of the elements, all these elements, again, controlling first impressions, and went from basically a startup to $18 million in 24 months. They look the part. They do not look cheap. They look professional. They look high end. They look premium. Okay. Looking at this, who looks more professional? Again, this is the same company. Believe it or not, this company is in New England. They're at the time, they were a $100 million home service company. Okay, did it look like a $100 million home service company? Did it look like a company that I would remember, or that looked like they provided amazing service? And then this is the rebrand. And then even just judging how effective the new design was in terms of revenue directly attributed to the new vehicles versus the old. I mean, 16 times revenue attributed to the new vehicles, and this clean, simple design that communicates brand promise in comparison to the old one. I always like to say, a lot of people talk about how expensive it is to invest in branding. And I say, well, you know what? The most expensive logo you will ever buy is one that you paid the least for, right? And you think about, well, that doesn't make any sense. Well, again, what does it cost you? What are the problems? Well, lower average tickets, lower booking rates, higher marketing spends, higher recruitment costs, and a poor culture, right? All these things are what actually you're paying for with weak brands. So, of course, the average tickets we just talked about, even the booking rates, right? You look at the comparison of companies with great brands and their booking rates. and their close rates in comparisons to ones with poor brands, it's like a no-brainer. It's like, why would we think that investing in branding is not a smart idea? It's like the number one thing to do. And then you invest into stuff like all the great sales coaching, all the great stuff about, how you work inside the home and the best practices, all those things. But if you can't have that homeowner believe that there's a reason why they should pay a premium for your service, you're going to have a really hard time increasing your average tickets. You're going to have hard time closing. Okay. So just keep those things in mind, right? And I always like to say too, the idea that overspending on advertising is the key, is the tax businesses spend for being unremarkable. And that's Roy Williams from Wizard of Ads who came up with that quote, but it makes so much sense, right? Because you think about, I blend in, and because I blend in into this community and no one knows who I am, I need to spend more on my advertising. I got to spend more on LSA. I've got to spend more on PPC. I've got to spend more to get leads, instead of actually making ourselves visible in the community and having people believe and there's a reason they should be calling me, and also remembering to call me. Okay. So the weaker the brand, again, the more money you're going to need to spend on your marketing. Okay. So just talking about, skipping there, talking about what is branding, right? So you think about branding, we talked about the touch points. We talked about every time that homeowner communicates and interacts with your brand and what they see and what it personifies. So the simplest way to just basically sort of help illustrate what a brand is thinking about it as a wheel. In the center of that wheel is your logo. Okay. And then these are all the touch points that the customers will interact with your particular brand. Now, if you don't get this logo right, this wheel will not be round. And when it's not round, it's going to require a significant amount more effort to actually turn this wheel. And by that, I mean money. Okay. So if you don't have the right foundation, it's really hard to build a great brand wheel, because you're going to be spending so much time and money trying to get it to work when the foundation is not there. If that hub is screwed up, you'll never build a good wheel. Okay. So looking at the idea of better brands, right? Better brands mean better booking rates. Okay. Amanda from Grasshopper, a company that we branded. We took Amanda when she was at $100,000 in residential sales. 3 years later, she's at $13 million in revenue on residential sales after we renamed her and rebranded her. But she has an amazing booking rate, 93% booking rate. Why do you think that is? When people call Grasshopper, they already have an expectation of what that deliverable is going to be. That's why the booking rate is so good, because they already know, oh my God, I've seen their vans. I see their reviews. I've heard of them. My neighbors use them. I think they're a great company. When I call them, I already have an expectation, and that expectation has been set by all these impressions. Okay. So that's why there's an amazing booking rate. Again, the weaker the brand, the lower that number tends to be. And you could have the greatest CSRs in the world, and she has amazing CSRs. But if you don't have a great brand, I'm already skeptical about why I should actually choose to hire you. And again, too, the longer you wait to actually build a brand, the more expensive it is to do it later. And it's not just the cost of redoing your truck wraps, getting new uniforms, building a new website. Those are the obvious ones. It's all the cost and lost opportunity that is really the other big piece of the puzzle that is really important to try to understand. And again, the longer you wait, it's just so much harder. The bigger you get, it just becomes so much more expensive. So again, how do you build a remarkable brand? You brand while everyone else is blanding. And so many companies in the market, even some of the bigger companies, they fit in, they blend, they are not doing anything innovative, and they overcome that by just spending more money on marketing. Okay. Look at this company too. Again, we mentioned earlier, Jason Bueller. This is his original company, Air Source America. This is what his original brand looked like. His last name was Bueller. We renamed him Bueller Heating and Air, obviously. And it's something that increased. Look at the results though too. So increased average tickets from $6,100 to $13,000, more than double. Now, of course, there's some inflation factored in there, but $6,100 is where he was in 2018 when he was Air Source America. And now he's at $13,000 average ticket. His revenue is up from 2.4 million to 18 million in 5 years. And here's the beautiful part. Okay. 5% ad spend. So all these guys who say, oh my God, you got to spend 10%, you got to spend 11% if you want to grow. Well, how did he grow when he was only spending 5%. How is that possible? Well, I'll tell you how it happened. He became known in his community. He became that 5 Mile famous. People knew who he was in his community. That's why he had 1,500 branded keyword searches in the month of July. That's why he wasn't spending a ton on LSA for every lead for AC Repair, Jacksonville, New Jersey, because people knew who he was. So again, the idea too that, oh my God, what I'm doing is working. Why should I ever change? It seems to be working. People tell me they see my vans all over, so I don't need to change anything, right? Well, again, a comfort zone, listen, is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there, okay? Just the idea of, again, what got you here is not going to get you there, okay? Success in spite of a poor brand is not a valid reason to perpetuate it. We actually have that on a big sign here in our office, okay? Look at Tommy's brand when we did his brand. Okay. This is what he was using. And this is what he wound up rebranding to. But when Tommy was here, he was at $40 million in revenue. He didn't say, oh my God, this is good enough. This is working. I mean, $40 million in revenue, something actually is working, right? So why would I change? But he knew that this wasn't going to take him where he wanted to go. So he's 32 million when we rebranded him, and he's 200 million plus in the 3.5 years since rebranding. Okay. One is a premium brand. One is not a premium brand. His average tickets, again, also dramatically increased after the rebrand. Victor Rancor, this is original brand. It's what we call the white van syndrome. And this is the rebrand, $4.9 million to $30 million in revenue in the 3 years after rebranding. I mean, honestly, just look at this though. Like if you're trying to recruit somebody, which one looks like a company I want to work for? Right? Does one look like a company I want to work for? And not only look like a company I want to work for, which one looks like a company that can charge higher average tickets, right? It's a no-brainer there. Aaron Gaynor from Eco Plumbers is another company that we did the rebrand. This is the original brand, and then this is the redesign. And he's up $16 million in 1 year since rebranding. Okay, very bold, very dominant colors, very vibrant colors. Obviously, he introduced a new service line for electricians and HVAC. But this is what the new brand looks like. And it's not just for the big guys too that are complacent. Sometimes the small companies are complacent. So looking at the branding for Galbraith, right? So this is their original van. Again, that white van syndrome, nothing very dramatic or innovative about it. And then this is the rebrand, but revenue up 45%, which is $1 million in revenue. Install average tickets up by $3,900. So without changing a single thing except the brand, his install tickets went up by $3,900. Close ratio went up 20%. Again, the homeowner, why do I want to sign up with you? Well, now you look a lot more professional than you did with the old brand. And then again, net profit went up to 16% after the rebrand. This again, just another example of another company we rebranded, and how different it looks as far as being disruptive, being different than what you would expect it to look. This is the original vehicle for Garage Door Doctor. And this is the rebrand. Average tickets up 60%. Imagine that 60% increase in average tickets. Went from $4 million in revenue, pacing $12 million in 2 years, and net profit from $500 to $3.5 million in 1 year. Okay. Which again, is this company going to be able to get a high average ticket? I mean, I hate to be painfully obvious about this, but seriously, like, does this look like a company that, oh my God, they do amazing garage doors? Like, I should pay these guys a ton of money. Or does this one look like somebody that I'm okay with paying a lot more because I believe that there's value? I believe that they can do a better job. Okay. Another company here. This is a 150-year-old company. Looks like they just started a couple of weeks ago, right? Nothing special about this. And then this is the rebrand that we did for them. And you can see what that looks like. Super elegant, delivers brand promise, all those things that we're looking for in a brand. Okay. So the biggest question, like, well, when is it time to rebrand? Again, when your brand no longer represents who you are, when it blends in with everyone else's brand, when you can't own your own brand colors, when you realize you're spending so much on marketing and you're not getting the results that you're hoping to. And certainly when the brand no longer represents you. So you think about, hey, I started this company a few years ago. This was all I had. This is all I could afford at the time. But then you evolved into something that's so much bigger, so much more professional. You're utilizing best practices. Well, does the original brand now actually look as good as the service you provide? Right. And there's so much ego involved in that decision. And I totally get it. And I'm sensitive to it. And I understand it. But you have to understand that that ego sometimes is the actual thing that is holding you back from actually growing, right? We said earlier the idea that a comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing grows there. Okay. So just consider that. The other most important thing is the idea of consumer bias. So, how does the new brand counter consumer bias? You have to understand that the people that you are selling to are already afraid of you. They already don't trust you. Okay. They think that, maybe they're going to get ripped off by you. They don't really understand what you do. You could you could need just like a capacitor, or you could need a whole new unit. How do I know? Right. So again, they're worried about who's coming to their home, especially women, right? So again, does the brand speak to that bias? Does the brand help them feel comfortable with who's coming to their home? Okay, those are all the things. You see a lot of people brand like this. Like, this dude is coming to your house and he's going to beat the shit out of you. Okay. I don't know how else to put it. I don't know how many times I can say this about this type of branding, but this guy is not your friend. This is not who you want in your home. A woman is not going to be comfortable with images like this. Okay. So really think about the type of image that you're putting forth. Compare it to this approach. Okay. The Walrus, 3 million to 7 million in 1 year and 1,000 memberships added since they changed from this brand. Okay. This guy's not coming to my house to rip me off. This is, oh my God, that's so cute. Also, oh my God, I can remember that. Why would I ever remember this? What about this would make me say, oh my God, I'm going to file this in the back of my mind and I'm going to remember this later when I need it. Okay. Those are the things to think about. This is one example just showing you here. This company called Superior Comfort, we did the branding for. This is a post on a public page for a huge coffee shop in the middle of their service area. It says, we haven't used Superior Comfort, but every time I see the trucks all around downriver, I smile. It's the cutest logo, soothing color scheme. Whoever created the logo was a genius. Thank you. I see Superior Comfort all over downriver, right? So what have we done here is we've connected to that homeowner. We've made them think something about potentially hiring this company, right? So do you think when this person is ready for service, they're going on and they're typing in air conditioning repair near me? Or do you think that they already know that this is an amazing company? Okay. So again, countering the bias, it will put customers at ease, diffuse negative stereotypes, obviously help with average tickets, and it matches your deliverable and takes control of the conversation. Again, don't mistake visibility with delivering brand promise. Just because people say that they see your vans all over doesn't mean that they're actually working and delivering the messaging that you want. Okay. Look at Culpeper Services, 0 phone calls traced to this truck wrap. This is the new truck wrap, 80 phone calls within the first 9 months. People said that this truck they see all the time. I can't even really read the name of this particular company, but people did see it, I'm sure. And then this is the rebrand. And you can see some of these examples here. Garage Door Doctor, 5.5 to 9.5 million, 2 years on a 4.5 ad spend. Again, choosing colors that don't blend in, avoid the red, white, and blue. Unique colors are so critical to have people remember your particular brand. Avoid those common colors if you can, and consider colors that are not typically seen deployed together. Okay. Look at the color schemes on Summit here. Very unique, very different, a whole very different kind of approach. Old Coast, again, really, really unique color scheme, very disruptive. This is their shirts. McAwesome is another company that we did the rebrand for. Again, very disruptive, very unique, very playful, colorful. True Blue, you can see all these different examples. Fetch-A-Tech, again, another really unique color scheme. And this is the old brand for 24/7, a company that we renamed Hummingbird. Again, colors meant to appeal to women specifically in this particular instance. M&M garage doors, just a really plain white vehicle. And then you can see here, and then this is the redesign. Again, talking about culture, talking about recruitment. A lot of companies say, oh my God, no one wants to work for us. Is there another reason maybe no one wants to work for you? And again, it's probably you, not them. Do you actually look like a place that people want to work for, that will attract that top tier talent? Again, and then the idea of better brands mean better culture. The most important thing to think about too is it's not just a pretty truck wrap. It's not just, increasing average tickets and all those other benefits. It's about the talent that you can attract. It's about what it does for the culture. And you look at the branding that we did for Amanda at Grasshopper. and the idea of forward is a way of life, and what that means not only to the external customers that she's selling to, but the internal customers. Okay, and then you could see the results for her and what that's done. But looking at PMA Mechanical, this is the old brand. Okay, not very friendly, not very facing to a residential market, and they're up, so much since rebranding. They've done so well. And forward is a way of life, is a mission that they have, not only again for their customers, but for their internal things. So just looking at the way that brand is integrated throughout their space and how it lives and breathes in their environment is so important. Okay. The last part is just how much energy, or how much is the new energy and enthusiasm a new brand brings worth to you and your team, right? So think about that as well, right? So one of the things I've noticed in all these companies that we brand is the renewed sense of energy and excitement that the people who have hired us experience after that rebrand. Not only are they re-energized about their own company, but their employees are energized. Their employees see that they're making an investment in their future as well. So don't discount to the idea of how important the rebrand is to your own culture and what it means, and how much value is in that enthusiasm. There's a video I'm not going to play because we're just short on time, but if you go on Grasshopper's website and watch the YouTube video of their 2-year celebration, you'll get a really good sense of what their culture looks like at that point. So I'm going to post a link in the chat if you guys want to download just a copy of this, which is fine. You can get my book on Amazon. You can get it somewhere else too. We could post a link here for you guys, but I think I'm good, Billy. If you want me to answer any questions, or if you think we're good at this time, I think I'm right on time actually. So.
Awesome job, Dan. Thank you. I think a lot of people got a lot of information by all the comments that were coming through, but who's using Kick Charge? Who has white band syndrome? You guys know who to call or reach out to if you need to get rebranded. But our next speaker is going to be Drew Cameron coming up, and he's going to be talking about the 3 high probability ways to increase your sales regardless of the economy or competition. All right, Drew, let's see what you got.
All right. Well, thank you, Billy. I certainly do appreciate the introduction. And good morning, good afternoon. I think it's afternoon for everybody now at this point, actually. Yeah. So, good afternoon. I'm on the East Coast. My name is Drew Cameron. I'm with Flow Odyssey, and I'm going to be with you for, I think I got you until about 4:20, about 25 minutes, I think is what they told me. So I just want to have a conversation with you all about sales, right? This whole topic is a little bit about sales. We had the master of branding and marketing in there, my good buddy and friend and most respected colleague on the planet when it comes to that, Dan Antonelli over there at Kick Charge. He is, I call him my heart brother because just about 5 years ago, I suffered a heart attack and sudden cardiac arrest, and he avoided one because he went in for a checkup and found out that he needed major heart surgery, and they cracked him all open. I avoided that, but the cool thing is that we're both playing in extra time, right? We got free baseball here, and what we want to do is we want to make an impact in the people in the industry that has basically, given us everything. He's been working with the trades forever in his branding company, and I grew up in the trades. My dad started the business, a year before I was born. So I was born into the trades and born for the trades, as they say. I did a podcast on that with our good friend Joe Crisara, who will be coming up a little bit later, and with his colleague Shreya and Mandeep. So check that out. But what I wanted to do today is have a little bit of a different conversation with you about sales and maybe some of the things that you typically hear when you go to sales training. And you're going to hear from, I think you already heard from Joe Cunningham, you're going to hear from Jason, you're going to hear from Weldon, you're going to hear from Joe Crisara, and I'll leave the selling side of things kind of up to them, right? But here's what I realized about sales years ago is marketing, branding, advertising sets up the pins, right? And sales knocks them down. And whether that be the technician or a comfort advisor, design tech, salesperson, whatever you want to call yourself, that's kind of the way the game is played, right? Marketing, branding, advertising, and even sometimes technicians tee up opportunities for us as the comfort advisors to go in and knock over to some extent. And I think that used to be a great metaphor, okay? And I'd like to change it because I don't want to knock anybody over anymore. That, that grit, grind, and hustle mentality to some extent, 10xing everything and going bigger and bombastic messaging and whatnot. Oh, we got our good friend north of the border. We got Nigel up there. Great to have you. So we've got some people from Canada here. Great to have the Canadian crowd there today. So what I want to talk to you a little bit about is something a little bit different when it gets back into the sales. And I'm going to focus mostly on when the opportunity flips from a repair, and we're talking about replacement, or it's a marketed lead that got flipped over to you, where you're the technician who's flipping it to himself or herself, and you're going to create the conversation about quoting a scope of work or something like that, or it was a marketed lead that came in and you're running that, so however it's going to be, this is about in-home sales. Now, if you're in plumbing, you're in solar, you're in generator, just substitute the product, right? For what I'm going to talk to you a little bit about there, but I'm going to come at it from an HVAC approach because I know we got different trades on here as well. So that being said, what I can say to you is, having been in this industry as long as I have, I'm 59, so I've got about 53 years in the business. If you go back to emptying trash cans and ashtrays and stuff like that, and then grabbing tools at age 12 after swim team practice. So what I've learned through the amazing education, I got a college degree, I've grown up in the trades, I've visited many companies, I've worked with thousands of companies, I've recruited, hired, and trained and coached more salespeople in this industry than anybody else. People may have trained a lot more, but no one did the recruiting, hiring, training, coaching like I do. I've been birthed to, through all of life. Most of them inherit the people and take what they get through the training. I breed them. I bring them into the trades and kind of grow them a little bit of a different step as to the way I approach things. And the reason that I've always done it that way, I've kind of always said, if you're going to judge me on the quality of the meal, you better let me pick the groceries, shop for the groceries, use my cookware or get the cookware and pick the chef that's going to do it, because this guy ain't cooking. I do not cook. You do not survive that meal. So that being said, I did realize though in business that everything that we sell, meaning everything that we sell, everything that's in your warehouse, everything that's on your trucks, everything that we sell is a thing. But all of the benefits of that thing come from your people and processes, right? And so I don't understand why we sell things, right? Hey, Bobby, and I appreciate the comments, guys. Keep the comments coming and keep the questions coming in. And no interrupt me. Got Mary Brewington on here. Great to have Mary. I met her at Jason's event in September out in California. Great to have you too, Mary. But here's the reality of things, ladies and gentlemen, is everything that you sell, all the benefits of that, okay, all of the experiences, all the life impacts, all the problems resolved, all the emotions, statuses, and identities that I get from the things that are in your warehouse and on your trucks come from your people and processes. See, I don't need your things. What I want is the outcome of those things, the results, the life experience, the impact. My life was this, and then my life becomes this after I get this thing from you. See, I don't buy the thing, I get the thing. I buy the experience. Just like when I talk to somebody about going to Disney, right? I say, when you go to Disney, what are you going for? People say, oh, memories, magic, experience, dreams, happiness, the kids' smiles, oh yeah, the fun, all that. Yeah. Okay, now I ask you, what does Disney sell? And you'll tell me memories, magic, experience, fun, happiness, dreams, magic, dreams come true, all that stuff, my kids' happiness and the smiles, oh yeah. No, Disney sells tickets and food and t-shirts and crappy food at that, right? And gizmos and gadgets and souvenirs and hotel stays and cruise lines and movies and all that stuff. That's what they sell. But see, they have got you so convinced in their marketing and advertising and your ability even maybe to go to the park or take in some of what they do offer. And you got it, right? You get that they're selling you dreams, memories, magic, experiences, and emotions and statuses and all that kind of great stuff. Right? And so much so you've done that and other trips, vacations where you go out there and you spend thousands and thousands of dollars. You come home, you have nothing to show for it, right? Except maybe a couple gadgets and gizmos and souvenirs. But you spent thousands and thousands of dollars for that vacation. And it's ether, it's vapor. Why would you do it? And why do you do it over and over again? And the reason is because you got an experience. It changed your life. And you are somehow changed as a result thereof. Now, I'm not saying to you that we basically are as sexy as a trip to Disney or a tropical island or something like that yet, okay? However, that being said, if we don't start to change our paradigm about the things that we talk about, in reality, stop talking about things and start talking about outcomes and results and experiences and status and identity and problems resolved and how your life is forever changed and how I give your kids a good night's sleep and give you the peace of mind knowing that you're basically making a good investment and saving money every month on your utility bills, as well as on a future system so that you can put it towards your kids' college education or that car, or that trip to Disney. You see what I'm saying? So we got to get away from selling things. And some of you have heard me say this before, but maybe I haven't given you enough of a framework around it. And so I kind of wanted to do that a little bit today, is give you a little bit of a framework around it. These are what I call the three high probability ways to increase sales regardless of the economy or competition. Now, these are not necessarily the best ways or the only ways. I think they're some of the best ways, but there are a few of the most useful ways, okay, and are part of the pathways that lead from unknown possibilities to your greatest potential. Now, you can ignore me and not do it. But once I tell it to you, hopefully you're listening, and hope you listen long enough, even to debate me, to tell me that I'm wrong. But then we'll both have to agree that you're the one who's wrong, right? Because the reality of the matter is I've been doing this far too long, in far too many areas of the United States and Canada, with far too many people in all walks of life, in all markets, selling all brands and all products. And what I can tell you is human beings, regardless of AI, will be human beings. And they will think in a human capacity. And they have a scarcity mindset in many cases. They have fear and doubt and reservations, right? Most people don't live from a place of abundance. And why do they have fear and doubt? Because they don't know what they don't know. And they're looking for somebody to come in and be successful. Meaning when they called your company, they wanted you to be successful, right? They want somebody to win at this game. And so you don't win at sales. You don't win at business. You don't win at life. You don't win at love. And you don't win at health. You have to play at the highest level. And that's all I'm asking you to do, is go out and do something and behave like someone that no one else in the marketplace will ever do. Stop thinking, talking, and acting like a contractor and start thinking, talking, and acting like the people that you're serving, which are consumers. Because you're a consumer. You were a consumer before you became a contractor, went to work for a contractor. You're a consumer while you're working for a contractor, and you'll be a consumer after you leave the contractor. And you're calling on consumers, but you go out and you talk like a contractor, you behave like a contractor, you act like a contractor, you talk like a contractor, and you can't understand why you basically don't get the results that you want. See, the consumer is not aligning with a contractor. The consumer aligns with somebody who basically gets them and speaks to them, speaks their language, right? I mean, you might as well go out there and be speaking English. They're German and don't speak any English, and you've got a Spanish interpreter. That's what is going on out there. Nobody is basically speaking their language because you're speaking a language to get your result, to get a sale, to close it today on the first visit. Everybody quotes 100% of the leads on the first visit. 60 to 70% of the time should be a two-step process. You're burning opportunities. You're talking to a deaf audience. They can't hear you. Your information is becoming irrelevant to their buying process because most people, okay, if you talk to them, no matter what your closing ratio is, probably only 20 to 40% of it is being closed on the initial visit. The rest of it's in follow-up for most of you. And that's if you're running a mixed bag of leads. If you're running all service agreement leads or tech flip leads, that's a different animal. I'm talking about a mixed bag of leads, right? And so what I'm going to share with you works with everything. So you need to forget these stale old processes that are out there and embrace a free-flowing framework that we teach, right? That allows you, to apply your individual creativity and freedom to flex and pivot within the framework, not a process, but a framework that allows you to flow to meet the prospect's needs and their timeline. And you're going to move your approach from basically complete chaos and winging it to one that's structured. Okay, structured, not scripted, planned, not canned. Right? With a process, you're taking control of something, and it's outcome driven for something you want to achieve. See, with a framework, we have the elements that are organized to meet the customer's needs and their timeline, and the results are going to come from our consistent execution. Your style, your creativity, your flexibility. I don't want to basically give you a bunch of scripts that are my words. I'm from Philadelphia. I've already said about 20 different things that probably offended half the audience, right? To some extent, because I'm a little bit bold. Okay, I'm a little bit nuanced. Not obviously, I'm a little different in the home, but for effect, I'm kind of trying to to hammer this to you. So I want to give you a framework that allows you to be you and do what you do at the highest level and feel good about what you do. right? Because that's what, at the end of the day, you want to feel good about what you do. Most of you are being taught to be a certain thing or behave a certain way, and that's stopping you, right? So stop trying to maximize your sales and begin to try and optimize your opportunities. See, if you focus on sales, you're focusing on the score and the outcome of the game. The game will end at the game when the game ends, and the score will be what it'll be. What's the score going to be, though? Okay, the way you win the game is to execute every pass, every possession, every dynamic of that game within the game. It's the game within the game, and you can only play the game to get to the result. So why not focus on the execution? Focus on the framework that you're flowing through and optimize the opportunity, not maximize your sales. See, when you optimize the opportunity, you basically let go of your mind's limited attachment to getting a result, and you actually get more results. And I know it's a paradigm I don't have time to get into the psychology or philosophy behind, but I'm going to walk you through the 3 ways to do it. Number 1, technical. I don't want you to be too technical with customers. I don't want you to talk technical, but I need you to have a technical approach so that you give the customer the appearance of your competency, your credibility, that you're not coming at this and just winging it and then providing a quote based on your opinions. No, this is math, facts, science, and data. It's an evidence-based approach. It's not just your opinions. I'm going to make air visible. I'm going to do a load calculation. I'm going to do an airflow analysis. I'm going to do an air quality analysis. I'm going to do an energy evaluation of the home. And I can do that all very easily. Yes, it takes a little bit more time than most contractors are willing to put in, but you know what? That's what I'm there to do, is to serve those people at the highest level. That's my job. So I'm going to survey the house. I'm going to survey the customer, right? I'm going to understand what they're looking for, what they need. They're not going to tell me everything right up front. So I'm going to have to take the time and romance the stone a little bit. And so I'm going to take a tour of the living space, look at the location of each supply, each return, each radiator, all the gadgets that they bought from Home Depot, Lowe's, Bed Bath & Beyond, and whatnot to adapt their lifestyle, right, to make themselves comfortable. So the ceiling fans are going, the floor fans, the tabletop fans, the humidifiers, the air cleaners, the air purifiers, the window unit, the portable heater, the pellet stove, the fireplace, the blankets on the couch. I mean, you see all the crap that they bought and how they've adapted their life. So when you ask them if they have hot spots or cold spots, they always say no. And the reason that they say no is just because they've adapted their life, right? But you can't get away from the test showing you, right? I can tell you that you can't get away from a blood test showing you either your cholesterol high, your blood sugar's high, or something like that. You can't get away from the scale when you step on it showing that you're overweight. You can't get away from the fact that your body mass, fat index is more than it should be for your weight and age and height. It's the data. You might not like the data, but it's right here, right? Now, I can refute your opinions because those are just opinions. But see, my job is to teach the customer the industry standards, the standards by which we hold ourselves accountable. And unfortunately, there's just no industry police that basically hold all of the contractors accountable. But performance-based contractors hold themselves accountable. People who want to sell you equipment, may or may not do some of the things. See, that's why we test in and we test out. Okay, we don't basically guess at all. We measure and test. We do not guess. And I'm going to prove to you that your system beforehand was 57% efficient. So even the old thing that you had wasn't doing its job, and you were wasting time and money, and it was working twice as hard, costing you twice as much to keep you half as comfortable. What do you think happens if I put high efficiency advanced technology onto a low efficiency, low technology duct system? You're just going to waste energy more efficiently. And what happens if you're lacking energy, insulation in your attic, where you got thermal bypasses in the attic, or you got stack effect going on? And I just know about 90% of the audience said, what the hell is stack effect? See, if you don't know that, then you don't understand the game at the technical level that you think that you do. And you need to understand that at that level so that you can educate them on what's going on in their house, what's going on with their existing system, so that when I share things with you as solutions, you understand, not based on my opinion, but my math, facts, science, and data tied to the problem, pictures and gauges and stats and all that, and reports showing you what's going on. And then you can anecdotally say, you know what, yeah, second level is a lot more uncomfortable than the first level. Okay, yeah, that's not because the thermostat's on the first level. That's because you have stack effect. And you don't understand that your house is breathing uncontrollably. See, my job is to validate their concerns and then educate them. So that's technical. Tangible. Tangible is basically where I make sure that I don't just put out a bunch of information about two-stage variable speed modulating, inverter, all that crap that you guys talk about, SEER, AFUE, BTU, CFM, all that stuff that nobody gives a rip about. My job is to connect the dots, is to help them understand what's going on in their house, what's going on in their life, why it's happening, how the existing system didn't address it because when the guy built the house didn't know what the hell he was doing, or hired a contractor that didn't know what they were doing, or the person who replaced your system didn't know what the heck they were doing. And so the thing is, this got kicked down the curve, a few different times, and here we come today. And they said, well, the other company didn't tell me this. Well, did they pull out all these tools and do all these tests? No, they did not. Okay. Right? I mean, they got their opinions, but I don't go based on opinions, right? We measure twice, cut once, so that we understand what's going on. We're going to be accurate, okay, not based on opinion. So I'm going to teach people how to buy, where real value comes from. It's not the box. And I'm going to help them understand that our people and processes are what makes the machine perform. The manufacturer's rating are a matter of potential based on laboratory conditions for like Miami and Minnesota. You're not going to get those results in Nebraska or Northern California or Maine or even Philadelphia, right? And so those ratings are a matter of potential. Performance comes from your people and processes doing the right things to get the right results, testing in and testing out and proving that they're delivering what they said the machine can deliver based on the existing infrastructure of the house as well as the duct system, along with the modifications that they're going to make. And that ultimately determines your life experience with the machine and in the home. And at the end of the day, that's the product, right? That's your Disney World experience right there. The product is the experience and life impact that you have, not the things you buy. You buy the experience, you get the things. You don't want the things, right? And while the things might be the most expensive part of the solution, they're the least important part of the solution. The most important part is the people and processes, who you invite in your home. And so if I ask this question, to the audience, what's the most important day in the life of the machine? Most of you would probably put into the comments, I would think. Well, let's go with that. What's the most important day in the life of the machine? And so go ahead and just throw into the comments, type into the text what you think the most important day in the life of the machine is. And they're popping up. Okay, come on, Nigel. I taught you better. No, actually, you got it right. Okay. I don't know if everybody can see the comments as they pop up, but Nigel said day it's designed. I read that wrong. Right? Jason Walker said day it's installed. So Jason, come on, buddy. You got to pay attention when you come to my events. Mary said something and it popped away too quick. My tickets went higher after that because she's grateful for that. So a few of you are basically saying install day, install day, install day, install day, install day. The day you choose the contractor, right? And it's based on the design, right? It's the design by the contractor. We've got Scott Heddy on here. He knows it. We got a few others. It's the day it's designed, right? So if I ask 10 builders to build me a house, I'm going to get 10 different houses, right? I didn't specify anything. I just said, build me a house, 10 different houses. Some might be up to code. Some might be safe. Some might be pretty. Some might not. Different sizes and shapes, the whole 9 yards. But if I gave them a set of blueprints, you know what's going to happen? I'm still going to get 10 different houses. The reality is, though, they'll be closer to the spec, right? And that's kind of the idea. See, when I have a spec, there's a high probability I get a good result. With no spec, zero probability. Maybe somebody nails it, but how would they, right? So we design it so that we understand what it needs to be and what the people need to be, do on our team, and put together the right package of resources and tools, scope of work, and labor force to go out and do the things to get the result at the end. And then I test out to prove that basically I fixed what was going wrong, the comorbidity, the pre-existing condition that I inherited from inception, from the builder and the last contractor who didn't know what the hell they were doing. And in addition to that, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, today's technology is not designed to work on yesterday's duct system. Like I said to you, put today's technology on yesterday's duct system, you're just going to waste energy more efficiently, and it's probably going to be noisy, and it's going to prematurely fail, and it's going to become a problem, right? And so we've got to change that, right? And so we've got to provide people with good information so they can make good decisions, teach them how to buy, like I said, and then connect people with their problems, right? Connect with what they want, what they need, and what they wish and what they desire, and then connect our solutions and our company and our processes to their story and their emotional currency. That's really what that's all about. The wants, wishes, needs, and desires is a customer's emotional currency. See, they'll spend emotional currency more readily than they'll spend U.S. currency. once they trust somebody. But see, you asking the right questions, you taking more time than anybody else did, you pulling out tools and doing a complete and thorough diagnostic. They're like, nobody else did this. Nobody else did a load calculation. Scott Hetty told me he's gotten a few jobs. He said, customer said, oh, you're the only one who did a load calculation. Like, we read about that. We said that, even Consumer Report says, you as a homeowner shouldn't do business with me as a contractor if I don't do a heat loss, heat gain load calculation. And you know what? I just spoke to a room of 300 contractors last week in Las Vegas, and I asked the room, how many of you are doing load calculations? Maybe about 15% of the hands went up, okay? And I said, on every job. And about 90% of those hands went down. Less than 5, I sell load calculation software, by the way. Less than 90% of all contractors do heat loss, heat gain load calculations on homes. They go based on square footage or existing equipment. The reality of it is how do you know if the ductwork is going to be adequate? Because you don't know what the airflow is required if you don't know the size that's required. And if you actually go ahead and add insulation to the house and fix the air sealing and solve the stack effect problem, you could reduce the load on the house before you produce the BTUs, get the customer to buy a smaller machine, and then the duct system might actually work. But most duct systems were designed at 0.1 static pressure, and today the static pressure needs to be 0.06 for most of these high static motors out there. So once we shift from making air tangible, we make it tactical. And this is easy. These are the tools that you have to tell your story at the end. Get away from the crutch and weakness of a proposal. We do not generate proposals. Proposals are for weak salespeople and weak sales processes. You need a menu. You need a price book. Lay it out in front of the customer. Let them see everything and guide them to the ideal solution that's right for them. Let them see everything that's available to them, like going to a restaurant, right? How hungry are you and what you feel like eating determines your check at the end of the meal. It's no surprise. Well, it should be no surprise for the customer. They should be part of the process of putting together the solutions. Yes, there are some things they have no choices on. Yes, there's some other things where they have limited choices, okay? And then there's others where they have free reign of choices. And your process should walk them through each of those and let them see the red lights, the yellow lights, and the green lights along the way. And then you basically put it all together as a complete turnkey package with warranties, guarantees, and maintenance. And you give them the guarantees that will not only remove the risk, but reverse the risk and put it squarely on your shoulders where it belongs. That's a money-back guarantee, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're not reversing the risk with customers and showing how what you do is no risk to them, they can't lose. And if you can't fix it and make attempts to fix it, that they have every right to ask for their money back and rewind time. And I will buy the system back and give them a check back for every penny that they've spent. And if they financed it, I'll pay off what they made in payments, and I'll pay off the loan. Why should they suffer because we screwed up? See, you need to remove the risk nowadays. The price points are so significant. If you're not reversing the risk and put it on your shoulders, I got to gamble with you before I make a buying decision. I got to basically make a commitment to you for $20, $25, $30, $50,000. And I can't even test this thing. At least with Best Buy, I can go sit down in the Magnolia Home Theater and look at the television and hear the sound system. But I wouldn't know how your system's going to work in my house, okay? If you pulled out of a warehouse, out of a box, and basically all the design parameters that were basically tested on in the factory all changed in my house. And you're not testing out? Are you kidding me? My doctor will not let me walk in the office without checking my eyes, my ears, my weight, my blood pressure, the whole 9 yards. But you're coming in and basically doing major surgery on my house, and I should just trust you. You did nothing with the diagnostic tools up front. You did nothing with the diagnostic tools down the end. You're asking me to make a $20,000 to $50,000 commitment to you, okay, and just trust you. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, it's going to be the technical. It's going to be the tangible. It's going to be the tactical, right? And how you connect with people and their stories. At the end of the day, this is a very human experience. AI is not going to change it. A robot's not going to change it. Some fancy computer tool you got's not going to change this game. You got to connect with people, connect with their problems, connect with their desires, connect with what's going on in their lives, and show that you care and be the difference that makes the difference. Be the professional that your company demands you to be and the customer deserves you to be. And if you do that, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you what, your life is going to get so much easier. You're going to have so much more fun, and you're going to be so much more successful in every aspect of what you do. And once you do that, I guarantee you, I will see you at the top. So I appreciate you. And if there's any questions or anything I can answer for you, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. My contact information, I believe, is out there, but if not, I'll give it to you real quick. It's Drew Cameron and Drew at flowodyssey.us. And then the phone number is 610-745-7020. And with that, I'm going to toss it back to Billy.
Awesome job, Drew. Thank you so much for all the knowledge you dropped to everybody. But I know that was a little quick for everyone, but if you guys do want to hear him speak again, he will be at Epic 2024, March 11th and 12th. So take advantage, get those tickets. But you guys, we do have our next speaker coming up. His name's Joe Crisara. He's going to be going over what should we do, bringing every opportunity to a conclusion. So let's welcome Joe Crisara.
Hey everybody, how's it going there today? And Billy, thanks so much for introducing me. Thanks for a great intro. Definitely, I'll be seeing everybody at Epic too. I'm going to be stopping over. I'm going to be Drew offered me to sit at his booth, so maybe I'll just come over. You want to see something together? You watch Drew Cameron and Joe Crisara together in one booth. That'd be an amazing time. Stop by and see us both there for sure. First of all, this meeting we're going to do today. First of all, thanks for inviting me here. I mean, imagine being me and having to follow Joe Cunningham, Dan Antonelli, and then Drew Cameron, and try to come up with something that's going to keep your interest. I'll do my best. I'm not sure if I can do that, but definitely I appreciate that. And of course, all three of those guys I admire so much, and I'm honored to be here for all of you today. So today's subject, I said, is what should we do? The reason I did call it what should we do, it's obviously one of my trademarked, as a trademark we have called what should we do. Now we have officially trademarked it. It is actually the book we have called What Should We Do? The name of the book, I'm not sure if it's mirrored on the screen or not, but there it is. This book is 429 pages. Don't worry, I'm not going to try to read all of them to you today or try to get all of them across to you today, but I will tell you some excerpts that are included in the book. But, you know, the really biggest thing I wanted to accomplish today is something a little bit different. First of all, everything you heard from Drew, I completely agree with. He is one of my heroes. It was in 2001 when I first went to a seminar that Drew Cameron taught me. I was fortunate enough, nobody else showed up at the seminar, and I was the only attendee. And I had Drew Cameron with me for 3 days teaching me how to sell. So it definitely is one of the highlights of my life. Was to have Drew enter my life that day in 2001. I'll never forget it. And so I've been building since then, and I've been fortunate enough to be with thousands of people. We've counted 33,000 people that we've helped in this trade since that time. So definitely it's an honor to be here. Today's subject is I will take a small piece of the book and really go over it, and that is the part where cover something that I don't think anybody's really covered today, and I don't think they're probably going to cover with Weldon and Jason, which is bringing every opportunity to a conclusion, right? So I'll just tell a little story about this. We had a company in Nampa, Idaho, that they had 11 plumbers. I won't mention her name because I don't want everybody to call them. Because one time I mentioned her name and they said, "Don't mention her name. Everybody calls us after you bring it up." So, but trust me, it's this company in Nampa, Idaho. They're pretty famous. They had 11 plumbers there, and these 11 plumbers never did more than $175,000 in a month, right? And they had me come up there and say, "Joe, what can we do to make the biggest difference? Are you going to ride along with people and things like that?" I said, "Well, you know, I could do that." I said, "We could make a bigger difference than me riding along." I said, "Let me just audit and monitor what you're doing." And what I realized, I realized that looking at all the calls they had roughly 37% of all the calls they did were not completed. They did not have a completion on it. So basically they went on a call, they needed to get a price, but nobody ever rescheduled anything, right? And so these calls are just kind of laying there. I said, let's go back a couple months and see what we got. So if you start thinking about it, 11 plumbers doing 3 to 4 calls a day, leaving about 37 to 40% of them incomplete. There was a lot of loose ends in the background, right? And remember, I said this company never did more than $175,000 in a month with 11 guys. And they said, Joe, so what can we do to make the biggest difference this week? And I said, well, here's what we're going to do. This week, if we don't do anything else other than this, and this is what I'm going to say to all of you watching this meeting today, if you don't do anything else other than this, this will increase the conversion rate from wherever you're at now. If you have a 37% conversion rate to a yes or a no, or yet to a yes, this is going to increase the conversion rate to 86 to 84% if you listen to what I'm going to talk about today. So what I told this gentleman who ran the plumbing company I was at, I said, here's what we're going to do this week that's going to make a difference. We are going to make sure that at the end of every opportunity, so your plumbers are going to go out there, and what we're going to do is we're going to teach the plumbers on Monday from 7 a.m. till 12 noon how to get an outcome to every call. So what I mean by that is that the plumber goes out there, they diagnose the system, and just like Drew Cameron said, you're going to diagnose the people as well. We'll go over a little bit about that too. Diagnose the entire plumbing system from the stack to the street. Now, if you're doing heating and cooling, like I've been doing this my whole life as well, you'd look at the ductwork, the electrical, the flue pipe, the duct sealing, the size of the home, like Drew said, the sizing and the make sure that it's designed right. Everything's so every single technician would do a complete design evaluation, the installation evaluation. How was it installed properly, right? So I said we're going to diagnose the entire home with the plumbing system, and then we're going to create some premium, mid-range economy choices for every client, which is in the science of pricing, which is in this book if you want to take a look at that. And also, if you look up videos that I've done on the science of pricing, we're going to create some premium, mid-range economy options. And then we're going to present the options, and then we're going to ask this magic question, what should we do? And the client might say, we need to think about it. And you say, that's okay, take your time. I'll stay right here. What should we do? This is a lot of money. It is a high investment, but it's an investment in your family. So what should we do? Oh, man. Can you email it to me? We can actually do better than email. Why don't we just get rid of the top option? Okay, that sounds good. Look at the rest of them. Look at the economical ones. What should we do? And the client's like, all right, well, you know what? I just need time to think about it. We need to pray on it, right? So I said, when you get to the point where you've handled objections and you said, what should we do, maybe 5 or 6 times, and the client says, listen, no matter what you do, we just need time to think about it. So we got a tankless water heater the plumbers were doing, or a sewer repipe. We need time to think about this. And I said, that's fine. You could do that. But I said, here's what we're going to do, guys. We are going to get a yes, a no, or another appointment on every single opportunity that we go on today. I'm going to train you from 7 a.m. to 12 noon how to get a yes, no, or another appointment. And then one of the plumbers asked me, well, Joe, what if the client doesn't want to do those 3 things? What if they say, I'll call you back when I'm ready? And I say, well, we're going to then do a 4th thing. I don't want to bring up the 4th thing, but the 4th thing would be to withdraw the bid. So at the end of every time we present a price, we are going to get a yes, a no, or another appointment. If the client doesn't want to give us those 3 things, we're going to say, you know what, John, the reason we need to do one of those 3 things is because it's world-class service to do that. Why do I say that? Well, here's what I say, guys. If we don't bring the opportunity to a conclusion after we've given people the price, then we're already showing people that we are unable to manage the project. Remember, what is the project? Like Drew said, it's the design of the system, evaluating the design. What would we design in 2024 as opposed to what was designed in 1998? Can we do something to increase that design? So number one, we're going to evaluate the design. The installation we're going to evaluate. We're going to find the problems that are here, and then we're going to create those solutions, those premium mid-range economy solutions, right? And we're going to personalize them and customize those solutions as well. We're going to make sure that we do the emotional part of it, like Drew said, to where we give the emotional impact of both the problem and the solution. But at the end of it, we've made an amazing design. We've redesigned the entire system to modernize it so everybody in the home gets their own personal comfort system by having ductless, or to remove the ductwork, or to zone the ductwork, or to seal the ductwork. So we've done something to improve the system, to improve the installation and the obsolete nature of the thing. At the end of it, here's all the prices: premium, mid-range, and economy. What should we do? And the client invariably might get to a point where they're stalled and they go, listen, I don't care what you say. We just need more time. We just need a couple of days to think about it. So here it is. Write this down, everybody. So get your pen and get your paper, or get your Apple Notes if you want to. Here it is. Here's what the golden nuggets are going to come out of my mouth right now, right? So here's what we taught that company in Nampa, Idaho. I said, guys, here's what we're going to do. So when a customer gets to the point where they say, I don't care what you say, we just need a couple of days to think about it, and we're going to give you a call back later, which was roughly about 37% of the calls they had, right? I said, we're going to do two things. We're going to diagnose the system, make the options, and make them personal. And then we're going to say, what should we do? And wait for the customer to respond. We're going to make a science experiment out of it this week. And they said, well, how are we going to bring it to a conclusion? How do we make sure we get a yes, no, or another appointment? And I said, that's going to be easy. Here's what it goes like. You say, here it is, John. What should we do? Well, you know what? We just need some more time. Can you email it to me and I'll call you back later? And I always say this: I can do better than email it to you. I can do better than that. What's better than emailing? Well, I don't believe email is a sufficient response to anybody. I don't think email is dead. So let's forget the email part, guys. We're not going to be emailing things to people. Make sense? Here's what we're going to do instead. Write this down. Here we go. You just tell the customer, John, are you interested or are you not interested in the solutions at this point? And what do you think 100% of the people said to those plumbers when they had no hot water, they had the drains weren't working or whatever it was, even when they're getting an estimate? Joe, are you interested in the solution? John, are you interested in the solution? Or have you lost interest in our company completely? And 100% of the people said, no, I'm interested. I want to get this job done. I just need some more time. Oh, you do? You need more time? That's great. Well, how much time do you think you need? I just need a couple days. Well, today's Friday. Are you saying you need all weekend and then Monday, or you think you need Tuesday? When do you think you can get? When do you plan on getting the project completed? I plan on getting the project completed on, like next week. I'm going to take off work next week. Okay, so should I come back on Monday or should I come back on Tuesday? Well, why do you got to come back? Why can't you just email it to me? I just tell people the reason it's not good service to email it to you is because if I did that, then you'd be doing it yourself. If I can't manage this part of the project, I shouldn't get the job. So here's the thing we can do. If you're interested, like you said you are, you're welcome to purchase now and get the job scheduled for next Tuesday if you want to. And then I'm going to give you my cell phone number. You can always call me to cancel if you want to cancel before next Tuesday. How's that sound? Or we can just come back on Monday and we can make the final choice if you're still interested. So would you like to schedule the job to get done on Tuesday? Or would you like to schedule it to come back and make the final choice on Monday? And now the other thing you could do is you could tell me no if you want to tell me no. So you want to schedule it to get done on Tuesday or get it done right now even? Schedule it to make the choice on Monday, or just tell me no. Which of those three things do you want to do? And the client's like, well, I don't want to say no. I want to get the new tankless water heater put in. I said, okay, good. So you want to schedule the job on Monday or just schedule to make the final choice? Why can't I just call you back when I'm ready? And here's why. Write this down. This is important. Because, John, if you call me back, our company, we have 11 plumbers. Each guy does about 4 calls a day, 3 to 4 calls a day. That's 44 calls a day. So if you call me back on Tuesday or Wednesday, right now you're in the front of the line in front of 44 people today. If you wait to call me back on Wednesday, you're going to be in the back of the line behind 44 people. And that's bad service. Make sense? So if I'm going to be involved with the project, we have to move the project forward to either put it on the schedule to get the job done or put it on the schedule to get the final choice. Or if you want to tell me no, you could just tell me no. So what should we do? What if I don't want to do on anything there? Well, then I just have to withdraw the bid. Why would you withdraw the bid? Because you're making me do bad service. I'm right now you're in front of 44 people, and if you don't schedule it, you're going to be behind 44 people, and that's bad service. Here's number two. If you hold off on a couple weeks to call me back, I can't hold the prices. The prices go up all the time, and I can only hold the prices for 7 days. So if you call me after 7 days, I can't guarantee the prices are going to be what they are. We have to do the whole job over again, and we have to go ahead and go over the prices and redo the prices again. And I can't hold the job for more than 7 days. With the way things change in this environment, we can only hold the prices for 7 days. And the third thing is that I'm managing the project. If you don't schedule the call for next week, then they'll give this call to somebody else, and they will have to go through the whole thing again. My company will intentionally take this away from me because they're seeing that I can't manage the project, and that's why we have to schedule it. So would you like to schedule it for Tuesday to get the job done? And I'll give you my cell phone number, and you can always cancel if you want to. As a matter of fact, you can cancel right now if you'd like to. You want to cancel right now? No, I like you. Well, you know what? I like you too. So you want to just schedule to get the job done on Tuesday with no risk? Or just schedule to make the final choice on Monday? Then at that point, what should we do? Yeah, let's just get the job done on Tuesday. All right. Here's what we can do. We would have to schedule to take up a place on the schedule. If I said I would do that and we would just take a 10% deposit that's refundable if you cancel, what would happen then? That's fine. Let's just do that. Okay, great. Now let's go back to that team in Nampa, Idaho. What did I say? Anybody want to remind me what I said? 11 plumbers. All 11 people never did more than, how much money was it for a single week or a single month? I said for a month. How much did all those plumbers, 11 people, never did more than what for a month, did I say? Anybody remember what it was? The listening test, right? Here's what it was. It was $175,000. Yeah, he got it. Joey Peters nailed it. He did. Jim too. He's right there with him. So good job. You guys are both 1A and 1A. Yeah, everybody's coming in now. Finally, right? By Wednesday, we've already done 92,000 by just doing that one thing. This happened in the year 2020 during the pandemic. I drove my car from Los Angeles up to Nampa, Idaho, and I did this with them. So from April 23rd through through April 30th, the 7 days I was up there in that Nampa, Idaho, in that plumbing shop, in that 1 week, we did $192,000 in that 1 week, exceeding what they ever did in 1 month. The very next month, the company did $611,000 the next month. The month after that, $734,000. Today, this company is averaging about $2.5 million because of this one concept. Now, of course, there's many other concepts they learned beside this, but to me, the biggest thing you can do to change the results from today and change them, change results today as opposed to waiting for weeks and weeks to do a bunch of training, is to say, Joe, here's all the options. What should we do? Client says, I need more time on this thing. Take all the time you need. I'll stay right here. What should we do? Man, can you email it to me? We can do better than email. At this point, John, are you interested or not interested? I'm interested. I like what you have to offer here. Well, if you're interested, then we could just get the job done now, schedule it for next week. or we could just come back and make the final choice if you want to. Those are two things we can do. What if I don't want to do that? Well, then I have to withdraw the bid if you don't let me move the project forward. Why would you withdraw the bid? Because if I can't manage the project properly, I don't deserve the job, I tell people. Now, if you want to schedule it, you can always cancel if you change your mind. So I'm going to go ahead and schedule it for Tuesday to get the job done, or schedule it for Monday to make the final choice, and then you can take it from there. Well, the conversion rate before I got to this company was just terrible. It wasn't like it was like a lot of calls. Not only did they have 37% of the calls incomplete, they had a very low closing rate too. They were like around 42% on demand plumbing calls, like 42%. After that week, they were 86% conversion rate. So the answer to the conversion rate is to simply manage the opportunity, right? What is the opportunity? The opportunity, you did what Drew said. You diagnose the entire system. You look at the ductwork, the size of the home, the duct leakage, the fitting choice, everything you're doing, and the equipment itself, and looking at everything you needed to design this system. You've diagnosed the family. You've asked, write this down. Who found the problem in this home? Who's the one who first called for this estimate? Who's the one who called for that? Why did your wife say she needed a new furnace? Why did she bring that up? We had the problem last winter. What happened last winter? Oh my goodness, what was that like? So here it is. Who found the problem? What did they say? And what was that like? You can do variations of that question, right? Now you're going to hear about the whole family. Oh my God, my wife, I was traveling for business and my wife called me. What did she say? She said that we can't live in this house. Do you believe we bought this house right here in Nampa, Idaho for $450,000? I can't believe it. And then this thing doesn't even work. Oh my goodness, what's that like? That's just frustrating and stressful. Well, I tell you what, this top option is called the Platinum Plus No Stress for John and Jamie Complete Comfort System Renovation. This top option, we did it for you guys because Joe, you travel for business. John, you travel for business. Jamie, you work here at the home. I want to make sure this home is a safe place for you and the kids. That's why we did this for you guys. And that's the emotional trigger, right? At the end of it all, it's the what should we do? If you're interested, we move it forward. If you're not interested, tell me no. Probably the best move in selling to me is to just tell people, hey, John, if you're not interested in what I do, why don't you just tell me no? And 100% of the people are saying, I'm not going to tell you no. I like what you have to offer. Try to get somebody to tell you no to your face is one of the most unpopular things you can ask a customer to do. Ironically, it's one of the most effective things to move the opportunity forward. Well, I hope all of you enjoy your time here. Now, I do have a couple of things to promote. One of them, obviously, is the new book, What Should We Do? It is on Amazon. You can pre-order it. It's going to be delivered on March 6th. 429 pages of searing content, just like that. There's nothing is wasted. We are having an event. Jason Walker will be at the event, and so will other people. Right before EJA, we're going to do an event called True Grit, which is an escape room event where we train you on stage for 45 minutes. Then we put you in an escape room. You have to figure your way out of the escape room. It's a lot of fun and laughs. Jason Walker came last year. He'll be coming again this year on this one. That's at servicemvp.com/true-grit. That's servicemvp.com/true-grit. You go there and you'll be able to get into the event. If you use the code TGBOGO, TGBOGO, you can get a buy one, get one free ticket to come to that event. That'll be in Memphis, Tennessee at the Graceland Mansion on March 5th through the 7th. And I hope to see everybody there. Billy, that's all I have for you today. I guess I hope I came in on time here.
All right, Joe. Thank you. You were on time. Thank you. We appreciate it. As he did say, he does have the True Grit event March 5th through 7th. Me and Jason will be there. So if you guys are there, come and say hello. But we do have our next speaker, Weldon Long, coming in talking about consistency selling. Consistent sales results come from consistent sales activities. Learn how having a sales process can drive reliable and powerful sales results regardless of the season. All right, Weldon, let's see what you got.
Here I am, but and a 1 and a 2. I'm not sure if we're on. I think we're on now. There we go. There we go. Thank you so much, Billy, and welcome everybody. Just want to make sure I get to a full screen share here. Krista, if you could let me know it's all looking good, that'd be great. First thing I want to do, Billy, is to thank you and congratulations on the new family. I know you and Jason both have had new members to the family in the last 6 months or so, and just want to congratulate you guys, but I want to lodge a complaint with management. I want to lodge a complaint right here. What I'm trying to figure out is how this young whippersnapper, Jason Jdub Moneymaker Walker, managed to get all these people together, guys who've been doing this stuff for 20 and 30 years, and get us all together for free. I want to know how he did that. So good for him. We're all very proud of Jason, the impact he's having on the industry. I want to talk to you today about a simple thing, consistency. And I'm going to share some information with you that I have very rarely shared publicly, but I decided today would be a good day to do it. You all know I've written several books, including New York Times and Wall Street Journal's bestseller, Amazon #1 bestsellers. You all know I come from the industry. You all know that I spent time in prison, was living in a homeless shelter 21 years ago, 9th grade high school dropout, 13 years in the penitentiary, places like this. Life today looks a lot different, right? Life today. This is one of my favorite pictures. Took one of the cars down to the state prison where I was in 1989. And if you could throw a rock or maybe a sock full of dope over that fence right there, only kidding, you'd hit the cell house that I was in 1989. Went down there recently in the Ferrari and was a full circle moment. But you guys all know that story. If you don't, you can read my books. You can find it out some way. Got a beautiful family. Everything I've ever wanted in my life. But what I haven't shared with folks as much is the complete HVAC journey. And I want to share that with you today. Now, most of you know, after all that prison time and all that craziness, in 2003, I was living in a homeless shelter, 39 years old, 13 years in prison, and got a job in the HVAC industry. And that was kind of my, beginning of a new beginning, I guess you could say. I get a job selling residential HVAC systems. By the way, Drew Cameron was the guy that hired me back there. I don't have time today to get in that whole story, but Drew was the one that was doing the hiring for a local contractor. And I got the job. I did that for about a year. Turned out I was really good at selling HVAC systems, kitchen table sales, building relationships, solving problems, all the stuff we do every single day. And about a year or so later, decided to open my own company. Didn't really know what I was doing, but I thought I could figure out, and I did. I opened my own company in 2004 and grew that very quickly, 2004, 5, and 6. And then in 2006, we were doing really good. I mean, we were kicking ass and taking names. We were destroying the competition. So I started buying up some of my competitors, started doing a little consolidation here in my little town of Colorado Springs, Colorado. And so in 2007, I purchased 3 or 4 of my competitors. And in the course of that process, borrowed about $2 million, maybe $3 million, took on a lot of debt that the other companies owed, had to borrow some money in different things. But we were doing good. We were rocking and rolling about $7 million a year by that time in our third year in 2007. So I felt very confident that we had this thing dialed in. We had this thing figured out, right? So we borrowed the money, we consolidated the companies, and then bam, 2008 and 2009 hits. Now, if you're old enough to have been around in this industry in 2008 and 2009, it was a bloodbath. The entire residential real estate market collapsed and took everything else with it. And all of a sudden in 2008, I'm sitting there holding several $1 million of debt. And for the first time, I was really challenged to see if I knew what the hell I was doing or not. Because up to that point, it had been pretty easy. I was surprised how easy it is to open a company, do some marketing, have a sales process, hire some installers, hire some technicians, and go out there and start making money. It was remarkably easy, but all of a sudden the reality set in when the economy crashed, the Great Recession of 08 and 09. And I remember having a conversation with my banker, with my accountant, and with a lawyer. And I can't remember who said it. We were all on this phone call. And one of them said, Mr. Long, you probably just ought to file for bankruptcy. And I just about fell out of my chair. File for what? Let me tell you something. When you come from where I came from, running the streets, going to prison, that's the cop-out people expect me to take. That's the thing they expect me to do. Hell no, we're not filing bankruptcy. We're going to figure this thing out. We can't borrow our way out of it. We can't steal our way out of it. But I bet you we can sell our way out of it. Now, I will tell you, up to that point, I thought I knew a thing or two about sales. But it really wasn't until 2009 when I figured out we got to get serious about selling. And we redoubled our commitment to developing a sales process. We were good at sales. I was good at sales. My guys are good at sales. But all of us just kind of did our own thing, right? And it was in 2009 when I decided, you know what we're going to have to do? We're going to have to develop a sales process, and we're going to have to learn to sell better than we ever have before. And you know what? We did. In 2008 and 2009, we learned to sell better than we ever did, and we brought that company back to a very prosperous place. And in fact, in 2009, the end of 2009, that company, that same company that was burdened with debt, fixing to sink under the weight of $3 million in debt, was selected by Inc. magazine as one of the fastest growing small companies in America. That's the effect of the sales process. That's the effect of understanding that consistent sales processes deliver consistent results. We've had some of the greatest talent in the country on this call today. And I guarantee you, you can follow any one of those processes. If you execute on a consistent basis, you will be successful. And it was a consistent sales process that got me out of that jam. And I'll tell you what, it's funny because I sold that company in 2010. And I told my wife at the time, if I ever even joke about getting back on the contracting side, because after 2010, I started writing books and traveling, speaking, consulting, all the stuff I've been doing. And so I told my wife, I said, if I ever even think about getting back in the contracting side of this business, I want you just to shoot me, right? The problem is I divorced that wife, and I forgot to tell my new wife in 2012 that I would never get back in the contracting side. So 4 years ago, I said, hey, let's get back in the contracting side. The new wife thought it was a dandy idea, especially since I was going to go into business with her family. And so 4 years ago, we opened a new residential heating and air conditioning company here in Colorado Springs. But I tell you what, by that time, I knew a thing or two about a thing or two. And I knew the power of a consistent sales process. And I will tell you, I'm very proud to show you, this is a Service Titan from last year, our 4th year in the business, $13.6 million in residential HVAC. We do some electrical as well. Why do I share that with you? I don't share it with you to impress you. I share it to impress upon you the power of a consistent sales process, that I could take a company from $0 and do 13.6 in our 4th year. I think that says a lot about consistent sales process. Here's the reality, folks. A consistent sales process delivers consistent sales results. A random sales process delivers random sales results. It's a very simple concept. It ain't rocket science. The reality is, if you do things on a consistent basis, you tend to deliver consistent results. I want you to think about this for a moment. I want you to think about your installation team. Say you went out and you sold 10 new HVAC systems for your installation team. And they went out there and did those installs, and nobody had a process. Everybody did it differently. They just start yanking equipment out and putting stuff in. There's no rhyme. There's no reason. They just start throwing equipment back in the house. What would the quality of the installs look like? I can tell you it'd be really shitty is what it'd look like. You'd have 10 systems and none of them worked right. You see, your installation team may not be a perfect process, but they have a process. And that process of installation delivers consistent, good quality installation results. It's the same way in sales. If you go on those 10 calls and you have a random process of dropping off bids, you're going to have inconsistent results. A lot of times we think we can just rely on our wits, rely on the way we do things, our process, we just wing it from time to time. It's not true. We got to have a consistent sales process. Now, when I talk to folks about a consistent sales process and delivering consistent results, they say, wait a minute, hold the phone. We're in the HVAC industry here. We have busy seasons and slow seasons. It's really busy when it's hot, really busy when it's cold, but there's 6 or 7 other months of the year where it's really slow. How can I have consistent sales results? Because you're not looking at it properly. You see, you can't look at your top line revenue. Of course, you're going to be running more calls in the summer. Of course, you're going to be running more calls when it's 1 degree outside. But you have to understand that your revenue per lead on each lead should be about the same. What is revenue per lead? Well, it's not average ticket. It's not your close rate. It's the average number of dollars that you generate on a sales call. So as an example, if you worked for me and you came in and I gave you 10 leads, I would expect you to generate $50,000 as a minimum on those 10 leads, $5,000 per lead on average. Revenue per lead is your gas mileage. Let's say today I left here Colorado Springs and I'm going to drive out and go see Jdub Moneymaker up in Sacramento. I'm going to drive up there and I can do it on 1 tank of gas. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, we don't know. We got to know a couple of things. Number one, we got to know how many miles it is. And number two, we got to know what? How many gallons of gas that we burned driving up to Jdub's house. Now, it might be good if I have one small car and a 20-gallon gas tank and I can make it to Jdub's house. We can objectively do the math and say, hey, that's X miles per gallon. That's great. On the other hand, I might be driving one of my G-Wagons and I get 6 miles a gallon. You might say, well, that's not so great. I might have an 80,000 gallon tanker I'm pulling to fuel my car. That wouldn't be so good. You see, you can't just look at the close rate and average ticket. You have to look at the number of leads. The leads, the number of leads, that's your gas mileage. Your gas mileage is how many leads do you have to burn to generate X dollars in revenue. And here's the thing. Your revenue per lead should be consistent year round. Of course, I'm going to run more leads in the summer, so I'm going to have more revenue, but my average revenue per lead should be consistent year round. Ours here in Colorado is about $5,000. We're in a heating market, so we do some furnace only from time to time. And in other markets, it might be a little higher. Some markets might be a little lower. But you got to figure out what is your revenue per lead. And then it is only a consistent sales process that's going to give you those results. So let's talk about that. When I start talking about consistent sales process, everybody starts thinking the same thing. Oh, it's going to be high pressure. It's going to be high pressure. It ain't high pressure. It's high service and common freaking sense is what it is. I want to tell you a story about Joe the concrete guy. For years, I lived about 30 miles west of where I live now, right up in the mountains behind Pikes Peak in a little town named Woodland Park, Colorado. Cute little town, about 5,000 people. And every day I'd leave my house and I'd drive through town and come down the mountain pass into Colorado Springs where my heating and air conditioning company was located. And every day I'd pass a little restaurant called the Hungry Bear Restaurant, still there to this day. And I drive past the Hungry Bear Restaurant, and every single day, almost every day, I'd see a white Ford pickup over there with black letters on it. And it said, Joe the concrete guy and a phone number. That's all it said. Joe the concrete guy and a phone number. I thought that was the most brilliant marketing message I'd ever seen in my life. I mean, what do they do at Joe's company? Concrete. Who does the concrete work? Joe, right? You cannot confuse that marketing message, right? So I'd get a kick out of it every day. And after about 2 years living up there, I'm out in my driveway one day, and I realized what I need is to pour some steps at the end of my driveway. So I very excitedly got Joe the concrete phone number. I got to pull the parking lot one morning on my way to work and got his phone number, called him up. And I said, Joe, I need some concrete work done, buddy. Can you come out? So Joe came out a couple of days later. And Joe gets to my house and pulls up in my driveway, and he looks exactly the way I expected he would look. Long, bushy hair, big old bushy beard, T-shirt cutoffs, and flip-flops, right? Joe the concrete guy didn't give a rip. He was like the honey badger. He didn't care. He was not pretentious. He was not pushy. He was not slick. He was a good old boy who did the best concrete work in the mountains. And it's a hard thing to do up here in the mountains with all this granite and moving rock and stuff. It's hard to do concrete right. But Joe the concrete guy had figured it out. So we go over to where I want the steps poured, and Joe pours the steps, or shows me where he'd pour the steps, and it's about $1,000. So I said, let's go ahead and do it, Joe. You write the paperwork up. He said, well, before I write the paperwork up, I want to ask you a question. I said, what's that, Joe? He says, why is your motorcycle trailer parked there next to the driveway in the dirt and the rocks? I had this riverbed for water overflow to run down, and I parked this little motorcycle trailer in it that my kid and I used for our dirt bikes. And I said, well, Joe, as you can see, the driveway is not wide enough for the trailer. And Joe, the concrete guy, looked at me and says, well, you know, when I'm here pouring your steps, well, I could widen your driveway. And my budget went from $1,000 to $10,000 just like that. Now, was Joe a pushy sales guy? No, Joe just had a process. As he began to do the paperwork, I said, Joe, where'd you learn to do that? He said, do what? I said, well, the way you took me from $1,000 to $10,000. He goes, well, sir, that's just common sense. I said, Joe, I know it's common sense. I teach this for a living. It ain't common practice, right? And Joe looked at me. He said, sir, I learned a long time ago. My job is very simple. If I'm going to feed my family and pay my bills, I got a very simple job. And that is, every time I walk onto a piece of property, I look for every problem concrete can solve, and I tell people about it. There's your powerful sales process. There's nothing pushy, and that's our job. Every time you walk into a house, you got to look for every problem you can solve, but you got to have a process for that. The process is so important because you cannot create consistent sales results out of a random sales process. As the famous James Allen 150 years ago, you got to stay focused on your process. Dispersion is weakness. Concentration is power. Stay focused on the process. I was on a call with one of my guys a couple weeks ago, and I'm always preaching process. Guys, focus on your process, execute on the process. Don't worry about the result. The results will take care of themselves. I've been preaching it for 20 years. Process. Consistent process, consistent results. So I'm on a call with one of my guys 3 or 4 weeks ago now, and we go into the house, and nice old gentleman, retired Air Force colonel. We go down to the mechanical room in the basement. Guy's got 2 systems down there, and my sales guy's taking some measurements, and I was running the call for him just to, kind of show him how I do it. And he's measuring up the system, and the homeowner, nice old guy, he says, man, I cannot wait to get my new Linux system. We don't sell Linux. And I said, what's that, sir? He goes, I've been wanting this new Linux, whatever brand, whatever model it was, high efficiency. And I'm thinking, we don't sell Linux. Somehow this guy got us confused and thought we were a Linux dealer. Then he commenced to tell me he had 2 other Linux dealers already come out and gave him prices. We were the third. He would make a decision. Well, I know full well we don't sell Linux, right? So he went back upstairs, and my sales guy was like, dang, we're kind of wasting our time here. And I said, no. You're focusing on result. You're focused on whether or not we're going to make a sale here. You can't worry about that. You got to focus on your process. Execute on your process on a consistent basis, and the results would take care of themselves. So the guy came back down. We finished up. We did our load calc. We did all our work. An hour and a half later, I go through my sales process, and probably like your sales process, my sales process is focused on demonstrating to my homeowner that the only thing that matters is the contractor that puts the system in. Brand doesn't matter. It's a huge part of our sales process. I'm sure it is yours too, right? An hour and a half later, 2 hours later, we signed the paperwork on $26,000 on a Daikin system. Linux never came up again. My point is if I had focused on the result and decided in my head, all results going to be bad here because we don't sell Linux, well, then guess what? I would have bailed on the whole process. I would have left the house thinking, well, sir, we don't sell Linux. I'm sorry, we can't help you. Hell no. I'm all about process. Execute on a consistent process. Why? Because consistent process delivers consistent results. Dispersion is weakness. Concentration is power. I'm going to focus on my process. So this is what we all have to do. We have to learn to focus on a consistent process. I don't care which process you use. You've heard from 3 or 4 people today. You're going to hear from Jdub here in a minute. Any one of whom will give you an excellent, outstanding, solid as a rock process. But if you don't follow it, it's just another tool that you're wasting, another excuse that you're making to justify shitty results. You have to execute on your consistent process on a consistent basis. If you want consistent results, you have to have a consistent process. You know, we may think sometimes I can just walk in the house. I got the gift of gab. You know, I know all about this stuff. I'll just go in there and wing it. I'm going to tell you something. You may think you're producing results, but you're not producing a fraction of the results that you think you can. Go ask Joe Crisara. You think he asked the question, what should we do every now and then? No, he just told you. He might ask it 5 or 6 times. That's process. You think he goes in there and sometimes he says, what should we do? And other times he says something else? Hell to the no. Everybody who teaches this stuff will tell you, you have to have a system. You have a consistent way to go around and go about your business. That's just a harsh reality. Now, I want to talk to you about something else that, and by the way, I've written 3 books on consistency. So it's a little bit of a theme here. And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it's really, really important. Focus on your process. Don't worry about the dang result. It'll take care of itself if you focus on the process. A big part of that is consistent training. Now, somebody asked me recently, probably about, it was January. It was this year, because it was after the new year. We had just closed out our fourth year, 13.5 million, our fourth year. And somebody said, well, how do you get those kind of results? How do you build these companies so quickly? Because I've done it myself for my own companies 5 or 6 times. I've done it hundreds of times for clients. My last 3 clients sold for a combined value of $250 million. $250 million. It's $250 million, right? So I know the process works. I've been doing it for 20 years. And it works for small companies too. I've seen companies double, triple, just like Joe was talking about. That one company, double, triple their revenue. One technique, one idea. Applied every now and then? No, applied every single freaking time. That's why Joe's process works, because it's implemented consistently. So this guy asked me, I said, well, I can tell you why we grow so fast, because I organize around systems and not people. I love having great people. I got great people in my company. Don't get me wrong, but I'm going to tell you something. You can't always find great people, which means you got to have a process and a system that you can bring average, mediocre people in, average talent, and put into a system, right? I will tell you this. When I started this company 4 years ago, I started it with the express intent of selling it. It's a 5-year plan, and we're in our 5th year right now. We already have multiple offers at great multiples to sell this company, and I built it with that in mind. Now, you may not do that. You may want to build it to run it for 20 years, and that's cool too. But if you ever think you're going to sell that company, I'm going to tell you something. The first 2 things, well, first of all, they're going to look at your profitability, of course. Then they're going to look and see if you got a management team in place. And then they're going to look at, do you have systems and processes in place? Now, if these private equity people throwing around all these millions of dollars, if they think it's important to have a consistent process for whatever you're doing, don't you think we should pay attention? That, my friends, is a clue. So I built my company around systems and processes. We're very profitable in our 4th year, very profitable. And we've got offers, right? Because we have processes. So I'm explaining, we got these processes, we got these systems. And he's like, no, there's got to be more. Like, what do you do on training? I said, oh, we train every day. Every day? Yeah, we train every day. I said, what do you mean? And I said, well, I produce 3 to 5 minute training videos every single morning and send out to my entire team. And on Mondays, I do a 30-minute training that goes around to all of our techs, the whole company, actually. They're primarily for service techs and salespeople, but they also have a lot of value for the installers and CSRs, because we talk about all those things. He's like, you do a training every single morning? I'm like, damn straight. I'm in their ear every single morning, reminding them of the process, reminding them of the core principles. And he's like, can I get my hands on that? I said, yeah, I'll be happy to send them to you. I send them to my guys, might as well send them to you. And then more and more people said, hey, I want to get these free trainings. So what I found is that one of the big keys to my success was the daily trainings I do with my guys. It's 30 minutes on Monday and 3 to 5 minutes on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And I just focus on one little topic, like maybe closing or relationship building or doing a thorough investigation. As Joe Crisara is talking about, yes is best, but no's a perfectly acceptable answer, isn't it? You got to remind your people every day about this stuff. So I started giving it away. And Krista, who's my chief operating officer, she recently said, well, why don't you make it available to everybody? So that's exactly what I did. So what I want to do is I want you to snap a picture of this and put your number in, and I'm going to send you a training every single morning to your phone, Monday through Friday. If you like it, call us back. We can get you hooked up. If you don't like it, no's a perfectly acceptable answer, right, Joe Crisara? But if I'm offering it to you for free, what should we do? We should probably take free, because free is always good. So I've had a lot of success in this industry. It's made me a millionaire. I won't lie to you. I've made millions of dollars in this industry, right? I went from being broke and homeless, living in a shelter 21 years ago, to earning millions of dollars. Large part from this industry, not just from the speaking. I've made a lot of money doing that too. I'm not going to lie to you, but I've made millions of dollars in the HVAC industry. And I look at people struggle sometimes for 10 and 15 and 20 years. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? You don't have to struggle. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be hard. As I always tell people, it's easy. Problem is just easier not to. So what I want you to do is to snap a picture of this. I'm going to send you morning trainings for 2 solid weeks. And I want you to focus on your process. I want you to focus on daily training. And I want you to remember that consistent sales results come from consistent sales activities. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Billy, I'm tired. I'm an old man and I'm tired. And I know there's a young man sitting back there, Mr. Jdub Moneymaker. He's young. He's got energy I had 30 years ago. But I'm an old man. I'm going to tell you something, Jdub. I couldn't be more proud of the young man that you have become as a family man, as a leader, as a father and a husband. And the contribution you're making to this industry, my friend, makes me more proud than you could ever know. Billy, I love you. I appreciate you. Let's get Jdub Moneymaker on here and let somebody connect.
Wally. Well, thank you so much. It looks like you dropped some nuggets that everyone keeps talking about, but all I got is everyone, you got to stay consistent. And we look forward to seeing you at Epic 2024, March 11th and 12th. So everyone, let's hope to see you there as well. But we're going to close it out right now with Jdub Moneymaker, Jason Walker, going over customer experience. People, remember how you made them feel, not what you said. All right, everyone, let's welcome Jdub Moneymaker to it.
What is up? What is up? Leveling Up event webinar. First off and foremost, I got to say thank you for all the presenters that jumped on today to get everyone together, right? To be able to bring y'all value content that you guys could go implement and girls could implement today, right? Go bring the action together so y'all can start getting that results immediately. And so, following these legends that I was able to put on this webinar, we're talking about Joe Cunningham. Joe Cunningham's indicted into the HVAC Hall of Fame with King Goodrich. Like, absolutely amazing that he was able to take the time to present y'all with the value that he was able to drop today, as well as Dan Antonelli, right? When you think of branding and truck wraps and billboards, I mean, the guy stands out above every single marketer that I know nationwide, and he's making a massive splash to help people level up in their business and really take control of what they're doing. And then Drew Cameron, I'm super excited because Drew Cameron gave a lot of value, and he's going to be dropping a lot of bombs here at Epic as well. So I'm super excited about that. Joe Crisara, True Grit, super excited to see you, brother. And then my friend, my mentor, Weldon Long. It's always an honor to hear you drop the bombs, the emotion that comes out of you, man, the passion. I try to feel the same fire. I know you said I have a lot of passion, but I absolutely love what everyone's doing. And what I really want to start with is I want to start with the question, okay? And the question is that I want to ask everyone right now is, right now in 2024, right now, today is February 23rd of 2024. Are you where you want to be in life? Are you where you want to be in life? And ask yourself another question. There's multiple different responses for that, right? A lot of you might say, hell yeah, Jason, I'm on the right path. I'm exactly where I want to be. But then there's also a handful of you that might be saying, you know what, Jason? I'm not where I want to be. I have fear and doubt, and I can't envision or dream where I want to go in life. And that's what I want to talk about is if you write down the steps and envision where you want to go, it's going to bring you so much further in life and being consistent in what you all do. Now, as I was talking about, there was a couple different answers for that. But if you're playing the blame game, and when you asked yourself that question and you said, I'm not where I'm supposed to be because my business owner or my partner or my technicians, and you're blaming someone else, this is who I'm talking about. This webinar is going to be designed for you because what you have to do is you have to take control of what you all are doing. It's not the blame game. I understand it's election year 2024. Things are going on. I travel all the time. I hear all the excuses from business owners, technicians, comfort advisors, right? But I'm letting you all know with that mindset, you're right. You're going to be defeated. You are going to get your ass kicked. But when you flip your mindset and you do what Weldon Long talks about, which is being consistent with processes and procedures and giving the full experience, and what Drew Cameron was talking about when you go to theme parks and people don't buy the thing, right? They buy the experience. And so that's what I want to talk about real quick is I want to start with this story. As y'all saw my social media last week, I took my boys to a theme park. But before that, I want to talk about this real quick. I think this is pretty important. A lot of people make excuses of where they are in life, right? And so I put this webinar on and I talked to every presenter about 3 weeks ago. And if you guys look at my social media and my story, right, I was hit with probably the biggest obstacle that I've ever had to be hit with in my entire life. My little girl, 2 months old, was admitted into ICU, pediatric ICU on life support. So not only do I have all these other things going on, right? I have commitments that I'm making. I'm showing up. I'm not making excuses. We were able, my team and myself and the presenters were able to make this webinar for you all with all the life challenges that I have going on. I'm a person that's never, ever going to allow excuses to dictate the amount of success that I want in life. And when I ask people, are you where you want to be? And I ask them why, a lot of y'all are full of excuses. You're not full of ownership. And you got to hold yourself to the highest desire potential possible that you know that you deserve and that you know that you could go achieve. And so just recently, I took my boys last week for my oldest son's 8-year-old birthday to Universal Studios. And earlier, Drew Cameron was talking about Disneyland having the experience, right? But Universal Studios, we walk into the theme park and we talk about people buying the overall experience, okay? Not just the thing. Well, there's 2 things that I want to talk about real quick in this experience last week is Mario World, right? It's a big thing that's happening at Universal Studios. My boy's been talking about it for months and months and months since they opened it. But the big attraction at Mario World is everyone walking around the theme park with Mario watches or bracelets, okay? And what I want everyone to know is people are investing in these. These are snap bracelets. They're not watches. They're snap bracelets that are made. If you don't know how snap bracelets are made, they're made with recycled tape measures, okay? So people are investing for Mario World, these snap bracelets. And how much do you think they're investing in these? Not just for their kids, right? But also for their wife and them to have the full experience as a family. $50 to $60 per band. Okay. Why? Because the experience that they're getting, they're not buying it for the thing. They're buying it for the experience at the theme park and the memories that they're going to make and the way that they felt. And that's why I say people don't remember what you say. People remember the way that you make them feel. And that's a quote that I really like. And last week, I really got to see that because I got to see those smiles on my boys' face walking through Mario Land. And then as we're going through the theme park, all of a sudden, what do you got? You got Harry Potter World. And what does Harry Potter World do? They sell these wands. And all it is a wood stick, right? And I talked to one of the gentlemen that is a really high up marketing rep for Universal. And he was talking to me about those wands only cost them about 10 cents to make. And depending on what wand the child picks, depends on the cost of that wand from $50 to $100. So when I hear people saying, hey, we charge too much, or we cost too much, or we're way higher than everyone else, what value are you portraying inside your appointment? That is something that's very, very important. And some questions that you have to also ask yourself is, what is the full customer experience that y'all are making sure that your customer and your client is getting? You know, starting with, I talk about running the marathon, right? If you're to watch the Olympics and they run track, what do? They hand off a baton. And what they do is they practice for years and years and years and years the transition of passing this baton. Why? Because if they extend a little bit too far, a little too short, right, it could take a millisecond off the race. And a millisecond off the race could cause what? Could cause them to lose the race. And so that's what I want you all to understand is by not taking away from our process, by understanding that HVAC or in the trades, right? There's different departments, but there's no division. And so what is it like when your CSR, your dispatcher, answers the phone? What scripts are they consistent with? Are they using scripts? Are they just rolling off the tongue every time the phone calls or the phone rings? You know, when you dispatch a technician out, are they consistent with a process? Are they doing the same thing over and over and over and over? Again, every client's different, right? So you got to shift a little bit and be a chameleon. But if you don't have consistent behaviors, just like Weldon Long says, you're not going to have consistent results. So that's why it's so important to make sure that my success is based off consistency, right? Showing up every single day, you know, starting with the podcast. My podcast has been up for 5 years. And if you guys track every single episode, we're at 270, I believe. Every single week, I'm consistent. Doesn't matter what situation I'm in. I'm consistent because I know that there's value information that people need to level up in their skills of where they want to be in life. And so what is it that technician's doing? Comfort advisors. You know, me as a comfort advisor, we're going to talk about the processes real quick as we continue to go. But as a comfort advisor, one of the biggest things was not just showing up, but how do you respectfully take control of that appointment when the homeowner's not giving you the right amount of time, right? Maybe their garage is up. They meet you outside as you're pulling up the driveway and they say, hey, units around back. I'm going to go ahead and jump on a Zoom meeting real quick. Let me know when you're done. Is that customer experience right there? Absolutely not. What experience is that? And I'm seeing it all the time when I do on-sites. What we have to do is we have to respectfully gain control of these appointments, okay? We have to walk the homeowner through steps and processes, and we have to do what is the most important thing, is we have to protect our price. And I want you all to understand that if you don't protect your price, and all of a sudden you get to the end of your presentation, now you give price, and all of a sudden objections start coming out and you start backpedaling because you didn't tackle them up front of your presentation, then all of a sudden what's going to happen? It's going to be hard to happily involve that homeowner, right? So there's different things, processes that are really going to set you up. And let's talk about that real quick. So what makes Tom Brady the best quarterback out there? Or what makes Michael Jordan the best basketball player out there? The reason why is these people understand what they're getting themselves into, who they're getting themselves into. And so you have to ask yourself these questions, okay? What tools are you using right now in order to elevate your appointment to the next level? And so when I talk about Tom Brady, right, being the GOAT of being a quarterback, the reason why is because he watches game film of each position and each person on that defensive line or maybe offensive line of what they need to better themselves. And he relates that. And so he understands every single week, every position or every situation he's putting himself into. And as technicians, as comfort advisors, we also have to have a great understanding of every situation that we're going to be getting ourselves into. Now, ask yourself this question. How do you do that? What tools do you have right now for your arsenal so you could set yourself up in a better situation? Well, let me ask you, what about your CRM program? You know, a lot of you behind the screens might use Service Titan. And what I know Service Titan does really good at is it does good at recording phone calls where you could put the dispatch's notes and phone calls in there, but also gives us data, right? Why wouldn't I want to know as a technician if my company's been out there 3 or 4 or 5 times maybe and what they denied? Why wouldn't I want to know that? Or what we've done at the house, why wouldn't I want to know that so I could set myself up for better success? But why don't we do that? We have the tools, but a lot of times we don't use the tools to help us close these deals or to happily involve these homeowners with new system installs, with new repairs, with club memberships, whatever the circumstance is, right? But you got to put yourself in these situations. And what you also have to do is not just understand your tools, but also understand looking up the house, right? Looking up maybe the development of the house, the income in that neighborhood. Or maybe not just the average income in that neighborhood, but maybe look at if they're the title homeowners on title and not renters, right? How many times have renters called because the homeowners didn't want to do shit, and all of a sudden you put yourself in a situation that wasn't the best situation, right? So always making sure that you're setting yourself up for success, understanding that you need to know your tools and how to use your tools in these appointments. You know, talking about the door knock introduction. The door knock introduction is extremely important because as a technician, as a comfort advisor, you have to respectfully take control of that appointment. You have to set expectations. You have to find out what prompted the appointment. And it's funny, I posted a video the other day of me doing my introduction universal door knock, and there's a lot of people that said, hey, you know what? You got to get the question out. Is it all right where I parked my car? But here's the thing. I don't think y'all understand the true meaning behind that question. Hey, Bob and Betty, is it all right where I parked my car? As a technician, do you think I really give a shit where I parked my car? Probably not. Do you really think the homeowner cares where I parked my car? Probably not. But what you have to understand is I have to get used to that homeowner getting used to telling me yes. And what better way to get them to start telling you yes at the beginning of the appointment? So when you transition to the close, you've already had multiple yeses through your presentation. They're used to telling you yes, right? And then also time commitment, setting yourself up for success, making sure that you understand that, hey, if I go in an attic or up from a basement, I got to make sure that if I have decision makers here, that they're still going to be here, that I have the right time. Because how often do you present solutions or about to start presenting solutions, and all of a sudden you might not ask that question, and all clients and homeowners all of a sudden got something to do, and they're asking for that email, right? And they're saying, hey, just go ahead and email it over to me, and they're not giving you the right time to go through those options. And if you confuse that homeowner and you don't allow the time to present options, a confused mind says what? A confused mind says no. And so I just want to let you all know that once you go through the introduction door knock, as a technician, I see it all the time. You go to the thermostat, and then you have the homeowner turn the thermostat on you to verify the system works. And then after verifying the system works, you stand there in the hallway and you ask questions. Well, what you have to do after you ask these questions is, first off, you have to take control of the appointment, and you got to start at something that's comfortable to the homeowner, like a table, because typically where I start is where I finish. And where do people do business? At the table, somewhere where they're comfortable, right? Here's the thing, y'all technicians out there, comfort advisors, if y'all are presenting options standing up, if you're presenting questions standing up, then what's happening is you're probably presenting options standing up. And it's too easy for that homeowner to say, email me the estimates, go ahead and leave and kick your ass out of the door. So make sure that you're representing yourself to the full highest level. You're getting to a table. Once you get to the table, there's a comfort survey or a series of questions where now you're going to start building your roadmap of where your appointment's going to lead you, right? You're going to get really good at asking open-ended questions. And as a technician, this is very important. As a comfort advisor, this is very important, because what happens is we get so excited about our findings or our solutions, and all of a sudden we just vomit everything on the homeowner, right? But what we have to get really good at is getting good at asking the client open-ended questions, where now we have an arsenal of ammunition where maybe we could use that to close the homeowner. Real quick, before I go ahead and close with you all and turn it into the Q&A, I want to give you guys a nugget real quick of selling indoor air quality. If you go invest today $3 in these three things, ask yourself, do you want to make $10,000 more? Do you want to make $20,000 more this year? You go invest these $3 and you start implementing this today, and you'll start having a great outcome of your future tomorrow. Okay. Go buy sandwich bags at the Dollar Tree, wet wipes, and Sharpies. Okay. And after you do your comfort survey, technicians, comfort advisors, what you want to do is you want to go to the return intake and you want to do a duct swab at the supply and the return. And when you get those wet wipes as nasty as you can, you're going to go ahead and put them in that sandwich bag. You're going to put the client's name, their number, their address on it. And what you're going to do is put that in the kitchen table. And what happens is I talk about touching the homeowner every 15, 20 minutes. You're going to go grab a tool out of your vehicle. And within that first touch of that client, they're going to ask you, hey, Jason, what is this? And instead of telling them what it is, I'm going to show them. I'm going to bring them to the return. I'm going to bring them to the supply grill. And I'm going to say, what I did was I took your filter out and I did a duct swab. And this is everything that got past your filter. What do you see on here? And they're going to say dust, dirt. And I'm going to say, what do you think this could do to your system? And they're going to say, I don't know, damage it. What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm going to continue to say what else and allow them to build their case until they're done. And then after that, I'm going to go to the return or the supply side and do the same thing and talk about what that supply is also going to do. And not only is it getting through the system and damaging the system based off what you told me, Bob and Betty, now what can it do to your health and your family's health? What else? What else? What else? And what would you like to do about it? I'm telling you, they're going to say they want to get rid of it. If you want to know further steps of what to do, I would love to let you all know. I'll be doing some Zoom trainings next week if y'all want to join in. Email me at jdub@hvacmastersofthehustle.com. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn this back to Billy. She's going to go ahead and end it with the Q&A, and I'm going to pull up all the presenters right now. So let's go ahead and crush it. And thank you everyone for joining.
When he means reach out to him, he means reach out to me at Billy at HVAC Masters of the Hustle so I could get you on his schedule. Let's be honest, everybody. Got everybody coming back on right now?
What's that, the Billy Kirk?
Not much. Great job, guys. Way to bring the nuggets to everybody.
Boom.
All right. Well, I'm going to start off this Q&A right now. Wally, I got a question for you. What's the best way to create a great culture?
You know, that's a great question. And as our dear friend Gary Ellis often says, culture will beat strategy every single time. And it is the foundation of every company. In fact, when we go and work with a company, the first teaching that we do, the first lessons that we promote are the prosperity mindset based on the power of consistency to create a culture of personal responsibility and accountability, as Jdub kind of talked about as well. People tend to think that all their problems are out there. It's the economy, it's the weather, it's my cheap competitors. Here's the thing with blaming other people. If you blame other people, institutions, and situations, that means those things all have to change before you can have a better life. And frankly, that's just not going to happen. They're not going to change for you. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it. It's about taking care of your people. Remember, your customer comes second, your people come first. Little things we do in my company, always having little competitions. The owners come in once a week and cook breakfast. Just constant things we can do to make people feel appreciated and empowered. And of course, the culture of taking care of our customers. Our people are watching us. You know, when we talk about we take care of customers and a customer calls back in after an install, they're unhappy, do we really take care of them? You know, what message are we sending to our team? So I think it's about doing the right thing. As I wrote about in The Upside of Fear, that, you know, character's doing the right thing and integrity is doing the right thing when nobody's watching. And so just making sure we're treating our customers properly, we empower and support and appreciate our employees at every single point, and then really try to embrace a culture of personal responsibility and accountability.
So we have a next question, and unfortunately, it looks like Dan Antonelli had to jump off, but I'll also forward this to him as well and give it to you, Charles. But it says, what is the first steps of rebranding? So we'll definitely give you the answer of that. But there's also another question that came in. Let's see. Drew, let me put this up on the screen real quick. Drew, looking back now at your earlier sales career, what would you have done differently to create different results?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, Nathan. And
Hey
going
guys,
back,
sorry.
Oh, Dan, I have a question for you after this one. Go ahead, Drew.
All right, get
Yeah.
Drew.
Good to see you, Dan, and everybody as well, by the way. So, what would I have done differently to create more results or different results, better results? I would, yeah, okay. I would actually done what I taught today. I didn't understand the power of even at Cameron & Sons. I didn't understand the power of airflow. I thought we did it right. I thought we did it better than anybody else, right? But you suck by your own standards, right? So, being better than a turd, I mean, not much of a bar to kind of jump over, if you will, right? So if the other guys in the market aren't that good and I'm just better than them, I mean, who cares, right? So, but that we didn't measure ourselves by other people's standards. We measured ourselves by our own standards. My level of excellence is far exceeds anybody's level of mediocrity, and I'm not going to lower that standard. And so, flow hoods were just coming online about that time, and blower doors were out there, but I didn't know much about them. I would have learned a lot more about HVAC and thermodynamics in the home and stuff. Joe Cunningham is a master at teaching. And, I mean, we got out. I mean, I went through manual J, manual D, manual S, manual T, manual L, manual N. I got all those manuals under my belt about designing a system, but I didn't understand that didn't matter. The equipment is only going to function as effectively and as efficiently as the duct system in the building envelope allow it to. And so while we measured the duct system, we weren't actually checking the performance of the duct system. And so I would have gotten into airflow a lot sooner. I would have gotten into building envelope a lot sooner, right? HVAC contractors, we missed the opportunity, and Joe Cunningham can even talk about this. We missed the opportunity to dominate the indoor air quality space for our industry back in the 90s, right? And it went to 3M and all these other products that are being sold at Bed Bath & Beyond, and they're point of use pieces of crap, right? We have an opportunity now as HVAC contractors to basically dominate airflow and the building envelope and what is known as home performance. And the problem is we're letting it go to the installation guys. And so knowing what I know today, I would be the biggest advocate for becoming a member of National Comfort Institute and understanding airflow, Comfort Institute for understanding building envelope, and getting my BPI certification, and then also becoming an AeroSeal duct sealing contractor. That's what I would do.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Drew. Now, Dan, we had a question for you from Charles Scott Hetty. What is the first steps of rebranding? Oh. There we go.
We good?
Yep.
Okay. So I would say the first steps are to really first evaluate whether or not the name actually makes sense. Sorry, I'm going to just switch here. See if that's better. Is that good?
Yep, you're good. Oh, no, you cut out now.
So we take a look at, make sure the name is going to work. Once you know the name is good, then we're going to do a competitive analysis of the market that you're in. We're going to look at the brands that you compete against. We're going to figure out what opportunities may lie in those different markets in terms of strategy for building a more disruptive brand, a more unique brand, and tackle it from that perspective. And then, of course, work with the client to try to better understand what are some of the things that you want the brand to communicate? What are some of the values that you would like espoused in that actual brand? And what are some of the important things that you hope the brand to communicate to the people you're selling to? So naming, I think, is definitely step one. Make sure that the name is effective. Make sure the name is easy to spell. Make sure the name delivers brand promise, and work from that point on doing the other aspects of it.
Awesome. Thank you. Here's another question right here. Weldon Long, we'll have you go ahead and address this one. Best advice for salesmen and techs to train together.
Good.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, one of the things I do in my company and recommend everyone does it, I think they're talking about the two different groups, but I like to put my service techs and my sales guys in the same room at least once a month. Also, by the way, I like to put my sales guys and my installers in the same room for breakfast once a month, because there is a natural kind of division between those two groups. It's funny. The installers start thinking the sales guys don't care, and the sales guys start thinking the installers don't care. And you put them in the room for breakfast once a month. They learn that they all care, and humans are imperfect and make mistakes. I think that's the question. If it's more along the lines of a service technician who's also a sales guy, and Jdub, that might have been the question. I'm not sure I understood it properly. But obviously, if you're a service technician who's also a selling technician, then you got to be good at a lot of things. You got to be good at running a service call. You have to be technically gifted, and you probably are that, but you have to master the communications process. Listen, there's a lot of folks on this call today, been around a long time doing this stuff. And, 15 or 20 years ago, all you needed to do to be a great technician was to be a great technician. Now you got to be a great technician and a great communicator, because the expectations of owners such as myself is we expect you to go out there and build relationships and do more than just the great technical stuff. So I'm not sure if that answered the question, Dub. I'm not sure I understood it completely, but hopefully that adds some value to the conversation.
Yeah. And then I'll piggyback off that a little bit too. The best way for training for technicians and comfort advisors to really merge together are buddy checks, right? So what you do is you have one comfort advisor that oversees maybe 4 or 5 technicians. And what they do is they go in the field, because what's the best training rather than being in a classroom setting, but being in the field, right? And what happens is these technicians watch these comfort advisors, or vice versa, right? A comfort advisor learns from these technicians, vice versa. The technician learns from the comfort advisors to how to level them up to the next level, because a lot of times technicians are great because they could fix stuff, but they don't really have the communication skills. And a lot of times comfort advisors, we really suck at fixing things, but we have really good communication skills. So when we could tie us in together and go out in the field and do buddy checks, that also keeps our mindset in the right frame of mind, that actually, instead of downtime going home, right, and going on Netflix and going through a marathon, what you do is you keep your mindset in the work mindset, right? And you're in the field, you're showing people what's happening. And I always say the best way to train people is in the field, because when you could show them that the 4-minute mile is possible, then all of a sudden everyone's running the 4-minute mile, right? So hopefully that answers your question. Let's see. There is a couple more. Drew, I'm going to go ahead and end it with this real quick. Drew, you can drop those recommendations from blah, 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 blah. Oh, so I guess that's not really a question, but.
Oh, I have one that someone had. What's the best advice you were given that was given when starting your first business?
Joe Cunningham, can you answer that?
Best advice that I got when I started my business was learn a little bit about the financial side and maximize your opportunities. Limit your overhead, maximize the income. And when I learned to watch my overhead, and I didn't always do that, I was worried about running out and do it. And I started not watching my costs, and that got carried away. And then when I worried about my costs and tried to fix that, then my revenue opportunities got away. So I guess that was the best information that I got. And it taught me to learn more about the business. I got into the business because I sold, and I sold real well. But I knew how to fix stuff. I was not a good business manager. I ran my business totally on emotion. And because I didn't understand the other part, I didn't let logic take me. So when they made me stop and think, and they made me stop and look, and they made me figure out my costs, and they made me figure out my numbers, and then they made me track what I was doing, that was the one thing that really started me down the right path. And everybody's got to sell, but the reality is you got to know your numbers. And the one thing that rang through in all of this, and I guess Wally probably said it the best, is you can have all the good ideas in the world, but if you don't do them, it's not going to help. You'll never get rich on what you're going to do. So take the things, my advice to everybody out there is take the things that you heard from Joe, from Drew. Drew's an old friend of mine, and he's got some fantastic experience out there. Wally's done some amazing things. Joe Crisara has done some amazing things.
Dan Antonelli is probably the best marketing person that I've ever seen. Jason wrapped it up at the end. They all gave you great ideas. But here's the thing, guys. It's not going to work if you don't do it. So grab some of this stuff, take hold of it, pull your boots up, pull your britches up, grab a hold, and just reach out and do it.
Love it, Joe. Thank you. I appreciate it. Now, Mr. Joe Crisara, there's a question from Nathan Golf. Uncle Joe, how do you go about water filtration with the clients and to bring that conversation up?
There is really no solution that's possible unless you find a corresponding problem. Does that make sense? So I would never dream of bringing it up if I didn't think there was a problem, right? So I think my advice is to make sure that you're in tune with being able to solve the problem, not just for today when it comes to water purification or air purification, but the problems that are going to be here in the future. I call my greatest fear. So you write that down, my greatest fear. It's like, my greatest fear is we put this water heater in, this tankless water heater in, and you've got more chlorine in your drinking water than you do in a swimming pool. Swimming. So the thing is that we're going to put this new thing in with the water purification. The water quality is not up to par. And really and then you want the emotional aspect of it. Here's words that work for everybody. It's just free words. I just know that this is the words that the jaw drops from the client. John, I just want this house to have water that's a safe place for your daughter, Amy, and your son, Jeremy. I want this to be a safe place for them. That's why I did that. So you have to have the reason why you are providing the solution, and you have to have the reason why you're telling people we have this problem. What impact does the problem have, right? Right now you have excessive chlorine in the water, but my greatest fear is that your children are growing up in this house, and it could be a much higher level of safety and health for them, right? That goes back to what we call the pure motives: quality, reliability, safety, and health, and then customer service. Those are the 5 things that I always say trigger, like, what's the reason why we are doing this? Well, I want it to be a safe and healthy environment for people. And my question would be, here's my approach. I would say, how important is the health of your family, John? It's really important. Why would you say that? Well, I did find a problem with excessive chlorine in the water, but I'm not sure if you want to hear it or not. Do you want to hear this, or should I just not tell you? No, I want to hear it. I want to hear it. All right. Well, right now, let me show you the test. And I show it the problem. So what do you think? Oh, my goodness. What can we do about this? Well, I do have the solution for water purification with the water heater, but I want to make sure you're okay with seeing it. I want to see it. If I show it to you, what would happen then? I want to get the damn job done. All right. So what should we do? Let's get it done. There you go. That's pretty much how I would do it. I kind of I call it the 4 walls technique, which is getting small commitments. Weldon talks about this a lot, getting these small commitments that get you to the yes, but I do it in a micro fashion, like yes, yes, yes. Well, if I did this, then what would happen? Obviously, yes, right? And so that's really what I do. And I try to make sure that it's universally tied to safety and health. So that'd be my advice on that.
Hey, Jdub, can I comment on that real quick?
Yes, sir.
So obviously Joe Crisara is the master of his process and everything he does. I had the privilege of reading his book before it came out. And so, Joe, I apologize if I have misapplied your teachings and your principles, because we just started the water treatment to tell our homeowners, your water's killing your kid. What should we do? So that might be a misapplication. That might be a misapplication of your teachings, but we just shortened it.
That's a thumbnail version. Weldon, that's not you did.
Appreciate what you do, Joe. Both Joes, Joe Cunningham,
Absolutely.
Joe Crisara. Special love for Drew Cameron, who brought me in this business, and Billy, we appreciate you, and Jason, we just love you to death, man. We're so proud of what you're doing, and I know I think Dan's out there somewhere, and he really is. I think Joe Cunningham said this. He is the best when it comes to branding.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
no doubt about it.
And, as we're coming to a conclusion, I just got to say, y'all, to get these heavy hitters, get these legends, right, to be a part of the Leveling Up webinar, first off, I just got to say from my team, thank you for everyone working behind the scenes to get this up. Like I said, it's been a crazy 3 weeks, but there's no excuses, right? For everyone that participated on the other side, the coaches, Weldon Long, Joe Crisara, Drew Cameron, Joe Cunningham, Dan Antonelli. Thank you all. I appreciate everything y'all do. And let's continue to make a difference in 2024, y'all. God
Thanks,
bless.
everybody.
Well, the biggest thing I can say, one more thing. The biggest thing I can say, Jason, is that the biggest honor and the show of respect is that we're all included, and we appreciate that to be included. So thank you so much.
Absolutely,
Awesome,
y'all.
Joe.
God bless. Take care.
You guys.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
Boom.